Good morning and welcome to the Mike Graham Show. I'm Mike Graham and this is the Mike Graham Show. As you can see over my shoulder there's the sign and it's back to blue, which is what it was the other day. We tried to make it red yesterday for St George's Day, but we failed miserably because for some reason red is not a colour that we could find on the spectrum of the Mike Graham Show sign. But anyway, never mind. Rafe Harder-Maker is here. Rafe, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Happy belated St George's Day to you.
Thank you very much.
Very good to see you here. We've got lots to talk about this morning. We are, I'm afraid, still in the grip of the Keir Starmer administration. He hasn't yet left, although we get ever closer to the day that he does leave, because on Monday, everybody thought, after that appalling, ghastly, useless imposition of his in Parliament, that nobody would actually believe a word he said. He's now obviously operating as a guy who thinks he's going to bore everybody into submission. We've got a few clips to play you today, one of which shows him yesterday talking about how the Cabinet are working very hard to bring the country back into line with other European nations and for working hard to make sure that everybody's better off. You know, it's so boring, it's so ridiculous. He needs to go, he just needs to bugger off, please. Otherwise, for our mental health's sake, we'll all be suffering. We'll all be checking ourselves into hospitals and throwing ourselves under trains in order to avoid listening to him because he's that boring. But we'll get back to Keir Starmer in a moment. Several different headlines this morning in the papers. Daily Mail goes with an interview with Nigel Farage in which he says he's going to wage war on benefits. He's going to basically crack down on benefit cheats and the benefits culture in this country, even if it means having to fight off rioters, even if it means having to fight off civil disobedience, even if it means having to fight off a general strike. A reformed government would actually crack down massively on the benefits culture of this country, which we do have to do, by the way, because we now spend more money on benefits than we spend on pretty much anything else, I think, apart from the NHS in the country. We spend more on benefits than we do on defence. We spend more on benefits than we do on business. We spend more on benefits than we do on energy. It's absolutely and utterly mad. Front page of The Sun has got a picture of a smiling, laughing migrant, a murdering migrant, by the way, a rapist who's been sentenced to prison for the rape of a woman in Brighton Beach. He was convicted yesterday, but it turns out that he came to the UK on a small boat, was put up in a hotel in East Sussex, and he's from Egypt. And one of the reasons that he came here from Egypt was to escape a murder charge for which he had been convicted in Egypt some years before. He's only 20 years old, but he was sentenced to time in jail because of a cynical, predatory and callous assault on a young woman. Two fellow laughing attackers convicted alongside him yesterday arrived on the same boat in September 2024, and all three of them lived in a taxpayer-funded hotel. Now, I'm sick to death of hearing from lefties who say, oh, but the thing is, you know, all of these migrants who come to this country, they're all really, really nice people and you shouldn't tar them all with the same brush. Well, I'm sorry, an awful lot of them need to be tarred with the same brush because an awful lot of them seem to be committing horrendous crimes, like rape, like murder, like sexual assault, and an awful lot of them seem to be ending up in prison when they get caught. And similarly, an awful lot of them seem to be ending up in taxpayer-funded hotels. So we're going to get stuck into that. Also, we've got a couple of developments on the Peter Mandelson, Morgan McSweeney front. Morgan McSweeney on the front page of the Times saying, oh, it wasn't me swearing at the civil service. It's not the sort of thing I would do. Really? Pull the other one, mate. It's got bells on it. Also, apparently, according to the Telegraph, the United States is blocking the Metropolitan Police from investigating Peter Mandelson. And if you believe that, I've got some swampland in Florida to sell you as well. Anyway, meanwhile, the BBC have killed off Football Focus. I couldn't care less. And it might as well kill off the entire BBC, as far as I'm concerned, which would be a good thing. Coming up, we'll tell you what the poll is. Coming up tonight, we've got Plank of the Week, which is going to be really, really good. And also, we will be talking as well about Prince Harry, who's made a bit of an intervention on the Donald Trump front. And as you can imagine, the President of the United States is not too impressed. Anyway, let's say a very good morning to Rafe, who's here with us. Rafe, very good to see you. Nice to have you back in on a Friday. Should we kick off with the migrant scenario? Because yesterday, Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, went across to Dunkirk, waving around wads of money at the French, who obviously are very much happy to see her. £660 million extra we're giving them to do absolutely nothing about the migrant boat crisis, having already given them 500 million. So that means over £1 billion will have given the French to have absolutely no result whatsoever.
Yeah, and we've given them all this money without any requirement for them to actually have any quotas. It's not as if they have to actually have a set number of boats that they're going to stop. I mean, they're only stopping 1/3 of the boats They said they're going to put riot police on the beaches. What the hell are riot police going to do? We need soldiers with bayonets to actually, slash these. Forget smash the gangs. Right. Slash the boats.
Just slash the boats.
That's what we need to do.
I advocated this years ago. Surely if you just stick a knife in the boat, one of those Rambo knives on the beach, that's the end of the boat, isn't it?
Well, they did this last year. The press
were
in
one,
town,
didn't they?
So they did one, and it worked so effectively. Everyone thought, well, this is a change of tack.
Yeah.
No, that was a one-off PR. Yeah. And the audacity of her to go to Dunkirk, the Dunkirk spirit is what we don't have anymore in this country, right? And I would be there. If I was Shabana Mahmood, I would be at Dunkirk telling the French, you know what? We saved your asses in World War II and got your chaps off the beach. Right. We came over here then. We're happy to come over again now and sort this out for you. Let our boys come back over to Dunkirk and actually deal with all of this stuff, because we need to have British people on the beaches, I think, because the French trade unions won't allow the French officers to go into the water.
And how many times have you seen pictures of the French gendarmerie or whoever they are sort of waving them off and sort of going, cheerio, au revoir, I'll see you later, à bientôt.
See, the Belgians used to go into the water and stop the boats. Yeah. That's why everyone went to France, because the French just refused to go into the water.
But now the Belgians are actually they've turned turtle, and they're now sending them to France and helping them get to France in order that they can come here.
And we have to be honest here. The French are never going to help the British on this, not only because of our typical Anglo-French animosity, but because they don't want them staying in their country, right? So there's no incentive for them. And if you can keep this whole thing going along, you're just going to get more and more money from Britain as well.
Well, exactly. So, as I say, in the space of, 3 years, £1 billion? It's extraordinary. And then yesterday she announced, and I saw there was some footage of her appearing at this detention centre that they've opened up. Oh, we're going to have a detention centre in Dunkirk. And you think, that's a good idea, because only last week we had Christian Drogan, who's on later on from Watchmen, actually walking through one of these horrible jungle-style camps on the other side of the channel. And it really is an awful place. Dangerous. People are walking around carrying AK-47s. There's drugs there. There's all kind of criminality going on. There's hardly any women at all, because it's all men. And they're simply waiting there. And I actually said to him, I said, how many of these people that we're seeing as you walk past them, and they were throwing rocks at him and threatening him, I said, how many of these people will end up in Britain? And he went, all of them. Right. They're all coming to Britain. They're all just sitting here waiting to come to Britain. We know where they are, so we can round them all up and put them in this detention centre in Dunkirk. Oh, hang on a minute. It's only got enough spaces for 140 men. Which means one boat, basically.
Basically, yeah. I don't know whether these people in government are idiots or whether they think we're fools. It's one or the other, or both. Because the fact is, all the policies they're coming out with are so inconsequential. Yeah. They're so tiny, one in, one out. Yeah. I'm sorry, we've got tens of thousands of people coming over, one in, one out, 140 in a detention centre. This is using a teaspoon to empty a swimming pool.
Yes.
It's a complete nonsense. I've said for years what we need to do. Everyone's heard me say it many times about having cruise ships in the channel so that actual migrants never arrive in England. Yeah. If you can't turn them back, just get the boats, put everybody on these converted cruise ships, which become detention ships, and when the ship is filled up, you sail it off to one of the British overseas territory like the South Georgia Islands. And as soon as they realise they will never actually set foot on old Blighty, never set foot on England, it'll only be a few months before they say, well, what's the point? You're going to end up on a winter island off the Atlantic. The Australians did this with the island of Nauru, which is 1,000 miles off the coast of Australia. They stopped all of the boats, migrant boats coming. Why the hell are we, after all these years, still talking about stupid things like building detention centres? I
know, absolutely incredible. Just looking at this story alone, there are 3 men found guilty, all from Egypt. One, the first initial kind of assailant, Karim al-Danasut. We've got Egyptian Ibrahim al-Shaf and Iranian Abdullah Ahmadi. They were all on the same boat. They all came here in September of 2024. They all were put into the same hotel in Brighton, and they all carried out this rape at 5 o'clock, or shortly after 5 a.m. in the morning, back in October, I think, of last year. And these are bad people, and I'm going to say this once and for all, because people will go, oh, well, the thing is, yes, of course there are bad people that come here, but they're not all bad. Well, no, they're not, but a much larger proportion of these boat people that come here are criminals, and they commit crime, partly because they're criminals, but also partly because their attitude to women is very different. They think that they can see a white woman, pick her up walking out of a nightclub, probably slightly drunk, the worse for wear, take her to a beach and rape her, because they don't think there's anything wrong with it, effectively.
Look, I'm sick to death of seeing yet another one of these outrageous headlines. The British government is allowing rapists and murderers free rein to wreak havoc across this country. We need to call this out for what it is. the first duty of any government is to protect the British people.
Yes.
They have failed massively here. And I'm sick and tired of all these do-gooders saying, well, these are genuine people fleeing war and so forth. Absolute rubbish. You don't send your young men when your country is going through hardship. You don't leave your mothers behind.
Right.
You don't leave your sisters behind. You don't leave your wife and your daughters behind. The real asylum seekers were the Ukrainians we saw coming over. Women, the elderly, the infirm.
Most
children.
of the Ukrainian men are still in Ukraine fighting.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
And these fools come over here, and these idiots come over here, and the stupid lefties who just say, oh, no, we have to be compassionate towards them. We're being taken for a ride. The gangs that do all these smuggling of people over here, they actually have WhatsApp videos showing young English girls on a night out, basically saying, you can have this, You are basically going into a sweet shop. You can have your pick of any of these drunk girls. Look at them. They're worthless.
Yeah, right.
That's how they're actually advertising for people to come over to England. We need to actually stop for once, putting migrants ahead of the British people and put British people first. This is insane. And of course, what's going to happen now is this idiot here who's smirking in these pictures. I don't know whether people can see this at home. He's got this little smirk on his...
probably if I'm going to hold it at the front page of the Sun, Pooch.
He's smirking here, this idiot here. He's potentially facing the death penalty in Egypt, which is why he fled, which means we can't deport him. Because he can use Section 3 of the European Convention on Human Rights to say, I can't go to anywhere where I'm going to be killed or tortured. So now the taxpayer will probably have to look after this guy for the rest of his life.
I know, it's absolutely shocking, which will probably mean, inevitably, and this takes us on to the benefits story, which is in the Mail as well, providing him with a home, providing him with sort of subsidies for most of his life. We've got a couple of really interesting actual facts here. During a cross-examination in the case, the KC who was prosecuting said the men that were described as egging each other on and acting like a pack of wolves. Ms. Llewellyn Waters, who was the prosecuting lawyer, told the court, frankly, to these defendants, the complainant was meat. She was repeatedly abused for their sexual gratification and entertainment. They wanted sex, and that could be achieved by being with someone who was in no state to resist. The day after the attack, Amadi, his asylum application had already been turned down, by the way, left the hotel where he was staying in Brighton and moved to an address 200 miles away in Crewe, where he was arrested on October the 12th. Now, I don't know about you, but how does he move to an address in Crewe? Presumably he must know somebody in Crewe. Yeah. He must know somebody in another part of the country.
And how's he paying for all this?
And how's he paying for it? It later emerged that Al Shaf's application had been rejected on the day the group travelled to Brighton. The three men were convicted after turning on each other in court. It's just incredible that this entire kind of underbelly of crime, of criminality, of disgusting behaviour, and of illegality is going on all around us. I mean, everywhere you walk. I mean, you could walk down the street here, you could leave this building, walk to the nearest railway station, and probably between here and there, there'll be somebody getting attacked by a migrant.
Yeah, and the fact is, we keep hearing from Sadiq Khan and people like Fraser Nelson and others, murders are at a historic low. There's never been a better time to be in Britain. Well, yeah, murders at a historic low because people aren't drinking as much. You're not getting violence outside pubs.
Right.
But think how much safer we would be were it not for this. If we hadn't imported, we would actually be a really safe country because murders have gone down, but we'd be even safer if we didn't have rape, quadrupling in the last decade. Yeah. If we didn't have, Afghanis who are 22 times more likely to commit rape. These guys are from Egypt. I've been to Cairo. I've seen how they gawp at blonde white girl tourists there, salivating at the mouth and everything else. It's a completely different culture.
I've been told by many people who've gone to Egypt on holiday that you can't, for example, go for a run in the morning if you're a young woman, because unless you're completely covered up in a tracksuit, because otherwise you get literally chased down the street.
It's the same thing in Morocco. I've seen this in Marrakesh and elsewhere. People hanging out of buses to gawp at women I've seen as well. So we need to understand it's a completely different culture. They have no idea what no means no or consent is. Yeah. And why people think as soon as they set foot in England, they're suddenly going to adopt European Western practices. It's time we got real on all of this.
Yeah, absolutely right. As I say, it brings us I'm not going to move away from this story because we're going to talk about it throughout the course of the morning. But let's talk as well about the Nigel Farage interview in the Daily Mail. Obviously, we're only, 2 weeks away now from getting the local elections underway. This time in 2 weeks. I mean, funnily enough, because they count so slowly on local elections, we probably won't know precisely what's going on Friday, May the 8th. But it's beginning to look like an absolute whitewash for reform, isn't it? And a lot of people predicting that Labour are going to be completely trounced, as are the Tories. Nigel Farage in the Mail saying that he's going to wage a war on the benefits culture of this country, which is long overdue as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is all low-hanging fruit. Any leader should be saying this to get votes. It's absolutely right. Reform's got a great policy here. Under Labour, the amount spent on the welfare bill has gone up by £20 billion. It's gone from 313 billion to 333 billion. By the end of the decade, it's going to be over 400 billion pounds.
Yeah.
And of course, it's going to get to the point actually where you're paying more out on welfare than you're taking in on income tax receipts. We're a sick country. A lot of this has become because of COVID. People were so used to the furlough scheme and they never wanted to go back to work. A lot of these benefits are actually people who are suffering from alleged mental health issues, but quite simply, they just don't have the ability to want to go to work any longer. One of the things I like to tell people is to put this into context. Workers under 25 take more sick days than workers over 50.
Yes.
There's something deeply problem with the thinking now of a whole generation. I mean, not everyone, lots of people are going to work, but there's a real issue here with the young, particularly in this country, and we cannot continue to basically bankrupt ourselves. I mean, the hole in the defence budget is £28 billion over 4 years. You could cover that with 18 months of this increase of 20 billion that the Labour Party has done. And the Labour Party, once again, whenever the Keir Starmer wants to get serious on welfare or anything else, he has to do a U-turn and back down because his far left backbench MPs won't have it. He's not governing in the interest of Britain, he's governing for his own political survival.
I mean, I'm afraid you've mentioned the word, which I was hoping we wouldn't have to mention, and that is the word Starmer, because we'll have to have a Starmer. Although,
yes, we had a bet last Friday. You said he was going to be gone by Monday.
I did.
I said after the May 7th election.
Yes.
So let's see.
Well, I'm still. My latest bet is that he's gone by the 8th of May, which should be the Friday. Because I just can't.
Victory in Europe Day, so it might be Victory in Britain Day.
But this is the trouble. The trouble is that he's so sort of dense in every way. He's dense in his brain. His brain is dense. His mind doesn't have any agility to it. He's incapable. In fact, I was speaking to Rebecca Butler, who's a barrister, yesterday about his kind of his legal background, and she said basically all of these people who claim to be human rights lawyers are nothing more than immigration panelists. They're not really lawyers. They're not actually, because I refuse to believe that somebody as stupid as he is could be in any way a decent barrister, and that kind of tells me everything I need to know, because he's not a decent barrister. He doesn't have the ability, he doesn't have the mental ability to be able to kind of explain anything, to be able to understand anything, or to kind of be agile mentally about solving problems. He's just an automaton. And in fact, to prove my point, I'm going to play you a little clip. This was him yesterday, out and about, being asked about whether the cabinet was behind him. Have a look.
Are you confident the Cabinet is fully behind you?
The Cabinet is working really hard on a huge amount of issues, and what we're delivering at the moment. We're preparing for the King's speech and all the further measures that we're going to need to take the country forward. And of course, the issue we discuss at Cabinet a lot in recent weeks is the war on two fronts, the ongoing war in Ukraine and the developing situation in Iran. What we discuss at Cabinet is the international aspect of that, but also the domestic impact in relation to that, and the measures that we need to take to ensure that we're assessing the risks and making sure we're protecting people in this country from those impacts.
How is he protecting people in this country from those impacts? Presumably he means by that the war in Iran, which is putting petrol prices up, which he's doing nothing about. How is he protecting anybody from anything?
Well, I'm surprised you even got that out of that, because I would ask people at home to now think, what did he actually just say then? Right. It's been about 10 seconds, and I don't think anybody can remember, because it's so
bland. The Cabinet's working very hard. We're looking at the international aspects of the situation in Ukraine. What? Because it's an international country, you mean? What?
Well, I was doing my show, my New Culture Forum yesterday. We were talking about the fact we don't have any statesmen left in this country. No one that inspires us. Everyone goes through these sort of PR media management, and it sucks out anything. Not that there was much to suck out in the first place from Keir Starmer, but they just end up looking like wallpaper paste. With everything that they're saying there is just so dull, and we're tired of it. We need to have some inspiration. We're at such a dark moment in our history.
Hey? What does Ray think to that comment? Let's see. Why couldn't someone just have said Happy St. George's Day? Yeah, well, He could have said that. He managed to put out a message about St George's Day yesterday without mentioning England, which is quite an achievement.
And he couldn't resist, though, having a go at the alleged far right.
Yes.
Basically everybody watching this channel.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the thing about the left. You know, they think anybody who waves the English flag is somehow far right and racist.
Yeah.
It's not. The problem is the left have completely vacated the field.
Yeah.
The old day, you know, Clement Attlee, Tony Benn, proud English patriots on the left. You know, but now the modern day far left, they think anything to do with England or Britain is somehow racist. If you're Scottish or Welsh and you wave the flag, they love that. You're English or wave the flag, you're a racist. That's because they're internationalists. They hate the nation. They hate borders.
Yeah.
So anything to do with the state, they actually despise.
Yes. Well, except there's only one border that they all love to lionize, and that, of course, is the border between Palestine and Israel. They don't mind that border, but they don't want for us to have a border. But it is incredible. Speaking of idiotic people in government, on the front page of the Times this morning, Morgan McSweeney has denied, before an appearance in front of MPs next week, claims that he bullied civil servants. He's appearing before the Foreign Affairs Select Committee on Tuesday, which I think should be quite an interesting watch, actually, in front of old Lady Noogie, who's actually not done badly, I don't think, this week. She's got up in my estimation a bit. McSweeney claiming that it wasn't him who told them to basically get on with the vetting process and just approve Mandelson. I don't believe him, do you?
No, well, we've had evidence to the contrary.
Yeah.
He said, just effing approve it, you know? Of course, he doesn't have his phone any longer, so maybe he's forgotten what messages he actually sent out.
I mean, I'm dying for her to ask him about his phone, because I'm sure that he won't be able to answer any questions about where it might have been taken, because, again, I said this at the beginning of the week, we were told that the CCTV footage of the incident in question would be sought by the police because it's a very well CCTV'd area in Mayfair where his phone was allegedly stolen. But so far we haven't seen any CCTV footage, and the police
it's been
have gone very
stolen as
quiet.
well.
Maybe they've stolen. Yeah, the cameras have been nicked. But isn't it ludicrous though? Because it seems to me now, particularly the way the story is unfolded, that the key sort of evidence now about who said what to whom, who knew what, who told who to do stuff, and who was ordering, the civil servants around. All of that would have been encased in various different, I would assume, WhatsApp conversations on Morgan McSweeney's phone. So it now seems even more likely that he just pretended that it got stolen and told everyone that nobody could now find anything on it.
Yeah, I have no doubt. I mean, it's absolutely true. Because remember, his phone was stolen just at the point where he began to realise that this sort of evidence would need to be recorded.
Yes.
And there was a risk that his phone would be...
How convenient.
Yeah, exactly. But of course, every WhatsApp conversation has another person on the other end. So whoever he was talking to should be coming forward with their phones to actually provide their part.
And also you might ask the question, why has, and I know that what they'll say, they'll hide behind there's a police investigation going on. Why is Peter Mandelson not being called in front of the Foreign Affairs Select Committee to be asked what he knew and what he was doing, and why was he given access to all of the most secure government information and security clearance before he was even actually confirmed in the job?
Yeah, no,
because he started looking at this, what they call Strap 3, very, very secretive documents in November, a month before he was actually appointed.
But this is why Starmer has to go, because he misled the House.
Yeah.
He had put basically he was giving access, security clearance to a man who hadn't been approved for vetting. And this, of course, remember, is a man who has made his entire career. He's been Prime Minister process. That's his whole thing. His shtick is, oh no, we have to do the process. The process is so important, He was a civil servant when he was head of the CPS. That was a civil service role, essentially. So he's a middle management person. His whole thing is, I'm not like Boris Johnson, I'm not chaotic, I always follow the process. Well, we have clear evidence here that you didn't follow the process and you lied about it, because he did know that he didn't have clearance when he gave him access to all that stuff. Why more questions aren't being asked about that, I don't know.
I know, it seems extraordinary, isn't it? Just before we go away from the St George's Day flag scenario, let's have a look at Kate Garraway, because this sums up rather well what you were saying about the kind of the elites and how they don't like talking about the England flag without making out that somebody who does so is some kind of racist.
We know that these flags have been hijacked by extreme right. We know that you use the Union flag quite a lot, and some people might feel concerned about some elements of your party. So why do you feel the flag is a good way to start this patriotism?
The point I am making is that to the degree some people do feel that way, It is because we are not celebrating our flag. And so to the degree that that is happening, then it is incumbent upon the vast majority of British people in this country to celebrate our flag and put it in the places that it belongs, like our schools.
What does she mean it's been hijacked? By whom? Exactly.
Well, this mythical far right.
Yeah.
But this, you can just see the sneering there, like there's something, a bad odour in her nose to even discuss this.
Right.
How vulgar of you to want to fly a flag and everything
Also,
else.
isn't it funny that she's busy saying there that, you know, and of course your own party sometimes uses the flag. He's got one behind him. You know, she doesn't actually mention that.
But we have to fly, you know. I gave a lecture in 2022. Richard Tice was in the audience, which I said all these policies I actually put out in 2022. I'm not saying that that's where they got them from, but great that they're doing it. Fly the flag, picture of the king. And actually, I also want school children to sing the national anthem every day. When I say that, people go, oh, that's too American. I'm sorry, they do it in Canada as well. There's nothing wrong. You know, children
I'm sure they do it in lots of countries.
Yeah, lots of countries. Children need to see the symbols of this country. And you always remember stuff that you sang when you were at school and so forth. It's really important for the kids to actually see things and have a connection to our national symbols. We've got the most radically left-wing youth in history, and they have a deep loathing, many of them, for this country. They don't have pride in Britain. It's no surprise when all they're getting is basically the evils of slavery, the evils of the British Empire, systemic racism. It's time, well, as I say this, you've got a lovely coffee mug with a Union flag on it. I'm just looking at over there.
Yes.
But that's what we need to do. We need to remind children and everybody else, actually, of why we're proud to be British. We should celebrate that. So St. George's Day should be a time to celebrate the fact that England made the modern world. No country in the world has got a bigger impact on the planet than Britain. And yet none of that. Instead, we get conversations about far right. Why can't St. George's Day be a day to actually celebrate England rather than turning it again into a political football?
Yeah, well, I did a rant about it yesterday because, you know, the usual suspects, the James O'Briens of this world and others, always pop up on St. George's Day and go, oh, you do know he wasn't even English, you know, he was a Roman soldier and he may have been Palestinian, he probably never set foot on the UK soil and all this. And you go, what's wrong with you? You know, why would you want to just debunk everything about Britain, which is great? And it's no secret, is it not, that we saw a poll this week in which it said something like half of young people under the age of 25 would not actually go and fight for their country because they don't know what it stands for.
Yeah.
So they have no reason to fight for it.
And the funny thing is, people like James O'Brien, they wouldn't dare sneer at St. Patrick. St. Patrick wasn't Irish. No. He was an Englishman.
Right.
And yet that somehow is fine. Nobody ever mentions that he was not Irish, you know, never. But St. George,
you could probably say the same story about St. Andrew as well.
But it's the same thing here, you know. The English people are the only people on these islands who aren't allowed to celebrate their identity. Everybody else, if you're gay, you're trans, you're black, you're Scottish, you're Welsh, Irish, celebrate. English, no, you can't celebrate because it's racist. Well, it stinks to high heaven, and the English aren't standing for it any longer. You know, in 1966, you had a sea of Union flags at the World Cup. Yeah. Now it's a sea of English flags, you see. People are beginning to reclaim that. And I think, you know, the problem is the best aspects of English culture and English inheritance have been woven up into the British national fabric. So people don't actually know what it means to be English. So it's time that the English began to reclaim those things that actually became British and say, actually, these were originally from England and we need to start celebrating the fact that we created a lot of this stuff.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And I think lots of people listening to this and watching this will be absolutely in total agreement with you. A couple of other stories to mention. A call to stop sharing data with China is on the front page of the Times, rather. Ministers face calls to ban the sharing of British citizens' personal information with China after a huge breach involving the private medical data of 500,000 people. Well, here's an idea. How about you don't give the Chinese any of our information for free, you complete and utter bloody idiots?
Hillocks, exactly.
What do you think is going to happen?
What do you think? No, but precisely this. I mean, China is notorious for stealing everything, right? Intellectual property, our scientists, our universities, everywhere you go, you get the Chinese stealing everything. And basically, they've had 500,000 NHS patients who volunteered, to basically help with these research trials. And you would think, well, the one thing we don't want to do is give people access to 500,000 people in China when we know. Instead, no, they've done all of that. Look, it's just common sense. You don't give China access to sensitive information. It's just, the mind boggles at the naivety of people involved in these sorts of projects.
But this is the thing. I always find it incredible. You can never underestimate the stupidity of some members of the public who go, who sort of do-gooder types who go, oh, I know, I'll take part in this bio experiment and help you research the next cancer drug or something, and you can have all my information for free. And then, surprise, surprise, apparently it's being sold 3 different ways on the Chinese e-commerce site Alibaba, who is basically selling everybody's information for quite a high price. Thank you very much indeed.
Yeah, and so now the Chinese now have all your DNA sequencing code, so they can basically make clones of you. In about 10 or 15 years, there'll be Mrs. John Smith will be go somewhere in Beijing involved in some criminal espionage or whatever. Then they come to pick you up. It's a 1 in a billion chance that it's your DNA.
I know.
I've never been to China, they'll say.
That's extraordinary, isn't it? I mean, it really is. Dame Chi Onwurah, Labour Chair of Science, Innovation and Technology, says the biobank scandal shows there need to be much stronger safeguards for public data. This is another blow to public confidence. No shit, Sherlock. Sorry.
This is what really scares me. I mean, of course, now less people are going to be volunteering for things because of stuff like that. I won't volunteer.
I will never give. I mean, I got a thing in the post the other day. I read it out on the show. The NHS has started up some kind of, new research arm, which is no doubt fronted by several people on 6-figure salaries, and they're basically asking you to give them blood. To give them fill out a questionnaire about your health habits and to basically help them to build a database, all for free, by the way, for them. They're not offering me anything in return. And I'm going, hang on a second, what, you actually physically want me to give blood in order for you to do some research? Yes. Well, I'm not doing it. Why would you?
Well, I love genealogy. I've been doing genealogy since I was 16. And I would love to do one of those things where you send your DNA in and they tell you exactly where you're from. But I just think, I don't trust anyone. It's not them, but they could get hacked, especially with AI and quantum computing. They can break even the CIA's codes.
Mind you, if you're relying on the Royal Mail to deliver, it probably won't get there anyway, to be honest.
But we have to all be wary now. And this is why all these centralised databases, and no one really trusts the government to be able to, or the NHS to keep
They're really not any good at it.
They're always leaving CDs and whatever, USB sticks on the tube. With all this data.
It is extraordinary. Let's have a look at Donald Trump, because he's in the papers again today as well. Of course, we've got new rounds of peace negotiations supposedly underway. Pakistan seems to have become the sort of the new Switzerland. I'm not quite sure how that happened, because I didn't really see that coming.
The Temu version of Switzerland.
Yes, exactly right. Switzerland with teeth, I think, probably. But he's on the front page of the Times talking about how Vietnam is not Iran, and this is going to be a very quick war. It's not going to be something he gets stuck down into the weeds. But a lot of people worry that it will go on for an awful lot longer. But meanwhile, there's been an intervention by Prince Harry, would you believe, who appeared for some reason in Ukraine yesterday and started talking about Iran. So here's what Trump had to say about it.
Prince Harry today has said that he would like to see you do more to end the war in Ukraine. Do you think it's appropriate for a royal to make those comments ahead of the visit on Monday?
Prince Harry?
Yes, sir.
How's he doing? How's his wife? Please give him my regards, okay? No, I don't know. I know one thing. Prince Harry is not speaking for the UK. That's for sure. I think I'm speaking for the UK more than Prince Harry. But I appreciate his advice very much.
Would you have
great advice
to the dinner and to the state visit?
Well, I look forward to the dinner. We're having King Charles come. He's a friend of mine. We're really looking forward to it. We've spoken, and we're going to have a great time. I tell you, if I had that ballroom built, it would be full. I wish we had more seats.
Yeah.
They've wanted a new ballroom for 150 years. Now they're getting the best in the world. We're going to have the best in the world. But, we have a room that's not big enough to handle what would be a big crowd. But we're going to have very great people that love the UK. I love the UK. I think they made a big mistake on energy. You should open up the North Sea in Aberdeen. You should open it up. And the other thing is they've made a big mistake on immigration. Okay.
Sir, it's amazing, isn't it, how one man can have a better idea of what Britain should be doing than anybody running the government in Britain. Open up the North Sea, sort out the immigration problem. And that's just 2 things you could be getting on with, as opposed to telling me how I should be dealing with the war in Iran.
Yeah, and for all the things that he's done wrong or was going badly, 2 things that have done well for him have been energy and immigration. Yeah. Those are 2 things he really actually knows how to get a handle on.
Yes.
And we do need some more of that sort of decisive, proactive policies from him. But what a great response. What do you think about Prince Harry? How's the wife?
How's his wife?
How's his wife doing? And what is Prince Harry doing in the Ukraine?
Yeah, I know.
Why is he meeting the Prime Minister? He's not even a royal anymore. He's not a working royal. This was supposed to be a surprise visit. He got off the train. All the press was already there. Not much of a surprise visit if everyone is there taking photographs of
Surprise! Oh, you're already here. You know, absolutely ridiculous. One final one. I know you're probably not a massive football fan, but Football Focus, there's a lot being made of that this morning on the front page of the Mail. It's a big page lead in the Sun as well. Football Focus has been axed after 52 years. I see this as a massive step forward for the BBC. They've actually looked at one of their programmes that they've been doing for so many years. It's useless, hopeless. It's been ruined by the fact that they put a lot of women on it, and completely and utterly it's gone away from what it was in its heyday, which is when people used to actually watch it, and they've just decided to shut it down. And I was listening to some comments about it this morning, people saying, oh, a very brave decision by the BBC to act something that's so traditional. Yeah, but it's failing because nobody's watching it anymore.
But they've made it fail. They've made, that's the whole point, and this is what's not being discussed here, is they are committing suicide because they're trying to appeal to young people to go back onto television. They've lost young people. Young people aren't watching the BBC. Who is watching the BBC? It's older people, it's pensioners who are watching the BBC. And the last thing they want is woke programming. Yeah. This happened with Doctors, which I used to watch after the soap opera, after the news at 1. Right. It would always it would just come on after the news. And suddenly the pensioners are watching and it's all about trans, or it's got disabled people are going to be... There were so many woke stories there, and they cancelled it because nobody was watching it. Of course, because you're lecturing the one group who don't have any time for any of this nonsense. Same thing with this Football Focus. I looked at the front panel there, and everyone seems to be a woman.
Alex Scott, right, is a former footballer herself who has been fronting the show for the best part of the last couple of years or something, is the reason it's been killed. But they won't say that because obviously that would be a crime against women, a crime against misogyny or something, right? So you can't say, basically, because you put a woman in charge of it, it's failed. You can't say that. But that's exactly what's happened.
Yeah, because we know the demographics of who watches this show. It's men who watch this show, and they would prefer to see, I'm sorry, terribly sorry, ladies, but they would prefer to see a chap talking about it. The old days of Jimmy Hill and Des Lynam. That was the heyday of Football Focus. Yeah. That's the sort of stuff people, and it's just, it's not rocket science if you want to save these shows, but they're so beholden to this ideology that they will self-harm rather than actually try to give people what they want to watch.
Yeah, I mean, funnily enough, the Sun's version of the story says footy loses focus, and it says woke and broke, but it doesn't actually explain what it means by that. But they quote several viewers. Ian Smith fumed on X yesterday. Another show like A Question of Sport destroyed by the BBC's woke agenda. Liverpool fan Stuart Nichols blasting, the writing was on the wall for Football Focus when Alex Scott became host. So it's like they're going halfway towards telling the story, but they haven't quite got the cojones to tell it properly.
But this is why Mock the Week was cancelled. Yeah. This is why Doctor Who's going down.
Because it's not funny.
No, but it's also decidedly left wing. Yeah. Frankie Boyle used to be funny. Then they gave him his own show, New World Order. Yeah. That went off because nobody was watching it because it was just non-stop left wing tomfoolery.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, it's just a nonsense. It's just a great shame because we're all paying the license fee. So why aren't you serving the interests of at least half, probably 3/4 of the public? You're catering to your own little coterie in Islington and elsewhere. Yeah. Just give us non-political entertainment. Why does everything have to be charged with politics or an agenda? Well, same thing with EastEnders, Coronation Street.
Yeah, there's a new BBC show out with what's his face in it, the guy who was Doctor Who, Capaldi. Peter Capaldi. And guess who the villain of the piece is? It's a far-right organisation which is threatening to blow up Parliament or something, And it's all these sort of horrible, sort of middle-aged white men running around being arrested by, the police who are saving us from these horrible, ghastly right-wingers.
Yeah, and when have you ever seen a migrant demonised on any of these shows? No. Never, right?
No.
You get that thing about...
What, you mean like a murdering rapist from Egypt?
Exactly, that would be a rather good story.
That's a good story. Yeah, look, we can make a BBC show out of that.
That would be a brilliant thing for EastEnders to do, for example. Unimaginable. Instead, it's going to be some white guy who's going to be doing it.
She's been raped by an Egyptian migrant.
just like that documentary on...
just came on a little boat.
What was that film?
Things you'll never hear on the BBC.
That young kid for the incel, that when they got all the BAFTA awards and everything else, right? We know exactly the type of incel people are. They don't look like that young white boy that was the one carrying it.
No, exactly. Just to remind us and everybody else that there is still some humour around. Let's have a look at Graham Linehan, who's decided to do a rather funny impression of Zach Polanski. Check this out.
Hello there. It's Irish Zach Polanski here. I just wanted to hop on to say I have a new deal coming in, 2 breasts for the price of 1. If you want to get both those breasts, just really fucking getting out there and showing everyone that you mean business, then come to me and I'll hypno-fucking-tit them.
Irish Zach Polanski, brilliant. Thank you very much indeed. A couple of super chats to do before we say cheerio to Rafe. Let's have a look, shall we? From Mick. This is from a €50 super chat. Good morning, Mike, Rafe, Pooch and Charlotte. First thing Starmer did was to sort out his pension. Any politician who benefits from breaking the country should have their finances revoked. Let them live like the rest of us. Love to all. It's a good idea, that, actually, because he had to actually change the law, didn't he? He enacted his own law in order to change the pension that he's got. Bam Bam says, white girls are flashing foreign delivery drivers. There's videos all over YouTube. Disgraceful, disgusting and toxic. I've seen a bit of that. I think that's probably something that's quite a small thing, though. Happy Friday, Mike, Pooch and Charlotte, says LTL. Thank you very much. Nice to see you. And anything else, or is that it for the moment? Thank you. We will come back to you. We're going to be speaking later to a whole host of different guests. And, of course, Ralph Schulhammer, I think, is coming up next. And we'll do him shortly after the news. Not with Edward Hughes today. I think Fiona MacLeod has returned for a Friday shift. Check it out.
Good morning. I'm Fiona MacLeod in for Edward Hughes. Poor Eddie has an appointment with his solicitor in Swindon that he can't get out of. Prime Minister Keir Starmer remains under intense pressure over the Peter Mandelson vetting scandal, with ongoing parliamentary scrutiny and cabinet tensions after the former Labour figure as US ambassador collapsed amid security and Epstein-linked concerns. In foreign affairs, the UK is preparing to deploy RAF Typhoons to help secure the Strait of Hormuz amid the Iran conflict and US involvement, while Donald Trump has threatened tariffs on the UK over its digital services tax. Other headlines. The assisted dying bill looks set to fail in Parliament. The BBC has axed its long-running football-focused programme after 52 years. Please remember to like and subscribe. See you later. Alligators.
What's going on with her hands, by the way? What's all that about? You know.
Old Eddie in Swindon, though.
Yeah, Ed's apparently off today. I'm told he's gone to see a lawyer in Swindon. Swindon's where I got divorced, right? It's not a very nice place. I wonder if he's gone there for the same reason. It's very possible. They've got a lot of divorce lawyers there because that's where, if you live in Wiltshire, I'm not sure where he lives actually. If you live in Wiltshire, that is the kind of the world headquarters of Wiltshire.
I think he's Cardiff.
Yeah, he is Cardiff, isn't he?
Yeah,
I mean, he's from there, but I don't know if he lives there.
Oh, okay.
Why doesn't he see a lawyer in Wales? You know, maybe there aren't any good ones. I don't know. Anyway, we'll keep an eye on Edward Hughes. Obviously, he's got problems with his domestic scenario at the moment. We're not sure quite exactly how that's all going to work out.
Oh, look at this,
eh?
Julie. It's always the girls.
What's that? Newsreaders grating on my nerves. What's wrong, Julie? Why is she grating on your nerves? I mean, she's going to be reading the news today, right? Please change Fiona's accent. Give her a Glasgow accent. Well, you don't want to make it too kind of, okay then. You know, you want to make it like that, do you? We've got a poll out, by the way. How many migrants will Shabana Mahmood stop this year? 0 to 10, 11 to 100, 101 to 1,000, or 1,000 plus? I'm afraid most of you don't have an awful lot of faith in her new scheme by the looks of it, because 0 to 10 has got 90%. They won't be stopping any migrants at all this year because they didn't stop any last year. They might send a few back, but it won't make any difference because the numbers are overwhelmingly in favour of only one direction of travel, and that is coming from Dunkirk and Calais to England. There's hardly anybody going the other way. And now, just because we've got some detention centre that's going to hold 140 of them, that's not going to make any difference. That's literally one dinghy full, isn't it? Can you explain the difference between joining the YouTube channel and the membership on Substack? Says Sorsha. I have a Substack membership. Are they linked? No, they are not linked. If you join Substack, that is a completely separate entity from YouTube, and therefore the two things are not in any way related, okay? You can subscribe to YouTube for nothing, or you can subscribe to YouTube Premium, in which you pay money for getting the service that you require without any adverts, okay? If you join Substack, you can also join Substack for nothing, but if you pay to be a paid subscriber to Substack, you can also watch the Mike Graham show free of advertising, right? But the two things are not connected. And what we will be doing, and what we have been doing, is at 9:30 every day, we move you from the Mike Graham show over to UK Live, Although I'm not sure we're able to do that
next week.
We'll be back to doing that next week, but it's under what do you call it?
Clean.
It's a spring clean this week, so we can't do that. But yeah, so basically, if you subscribe to us and you pay to subscribe to Substack, that's brilliant, and we're very happy for you to do that. You also get extra content, so you'll get Ask Mike, which we do every single weekend. You'll get my pieces that I write as well, a couple of those a week about what I want out of life and what I think about the news and all the rest of it. David says we need Fiona in a bikini. I'm sorry, David, we're not doing that. We are not doing the newsreader in a bikini. That is not what we do here. That would be demeaning to women, and it would certainly not be the sort of thing that I would want to see on my show. If you want to see her in a bikini, I would head off to the Virgin Islands, which is when she goes there on holiday. Hey?
Her Instagram, there's plenty on there.
Oh, her Instagram, yeah. Go and find her on Instagram. There's pictures of her there, if that's what you want. But that's not what we do here, okay? We are very, very serious as a news organisation, and that is absolutely not part of the plan. Right now, though, what we're going to do is talk to our next guest. Ralph Shawhammer is here, and of course, he will have been bringing us the latest news from Europe as to what is going on. Shabana Mahmood was there yesterday, talking to the French, handing over yet another bucket load of money, £660 million she's going to give them, on the basis that having given them 500 million already, for which they did the square root of bugger all, they're now going to get another 660 million to do even less. Ralph, a very good morning to you, sir.
Well, very good morning to you, Mike. I frantically, jumped out of my bikini and put on something more appropriate after you informed us that this is not the dress code we agreed on.
Well, listen, if you're not, as long as you're not reading the news, you can dress however you like. It's just, if we're dealing with people reading the news, I think they have to be appropriately attired. Yeah. I think that would be entirely correct.
Well, we live in the period of infotainment, so
Hey, listen, if it works, right? Our number, we've just broken through 17 million views, so we're very pleased with ourselves this morning. And so we're
very happy. You
very
deserve
happy.
It, Mike. You deserve it.
You're very kind. So let's talk immigration, shall we? Because, as I say, Shabana Mahmood is having yet another attempt at stopping the boats. We've got a poll saying how many boats and how many people do you think she's going to stop? And most people now think she's not going to stop any. And the reason we're thinking about migrants a lot this morning is this piece on the front page of The Sun, about an Egyptian man who has just been sent to prison for 4 months. He's been sent to prison for longer than that, for a gang rape of a woman on Brighton Beach. Came to the UK to escape a murder charge in Egypt last year on a small boat with 2 other people from Egypt. All 3 of them have been sent to prison for the rape of this woman. And he is just one of many, many dozens of men who have come to this country to commit sex crimes.
No, let me tell you a truly tragic story that took place in Austria a while back, where a 52-year-old man was luring a 6-year-old girl into his apartment with the almost cliche, using candy and then raping her, and he just got 4.5 years in prison for this.
Wow.
So basically, the Austrian taxpayer is now, and I think that the average prisoner in Austria costs around 6,000 euros per month. I'm not entirely sure what that would be in pounds, but you know what I'm getting at. So we bring these people flee to us, right? They need protection. Then they commit, I'm sorry, very often, like much more than the average population or the native population, they commit horrible crimes. But the thing is, when they go to prison, we still have to pay for them.
Yes.
And the problem is, and I think that, the UK, they try to do something, but it's not just about stopping the boats. I mean, we always have to cross into this uncomfortable territory, although I feel less and less uncomfortable talking about it, which is it's not just about stopping the inflow, it's also doing something about the quote-unquote stock that's already here. I mean, this is like saying, you have a pipe breaks in your apartment, and everything is underwater, it's up to your ankle, and then you fix the pipe, and then you say, well, job done, problem solved. Where you say, no, right now the water is up to your ankle. Now you have to, you have to drain the water. You need a fresh carpet, and so on and so on and so on. So we are still in the let's fix the pipe phase, but we have not done anything about the damage that has already occurred.
No, because it turns out that this guy came to this country and he confessed to the authorities that he was fleeing Egypt because he had been convicted of murder. And they still let him in because he told them that it was a case of mistaken identity and he didn't do it, right? Now, in Egypt, where they have a reasonably civilized system, he is facing the death penalty. So it means that effectively we will now not when he serves his sentence for rape, well, he hasn't been sentenced yet, so we don't know how long he's going to get. But basically, we won't be able to deport him to Egypt because our Human Rights Department will say, oh, you can't deport him there because he might get the death penalty.
So here's the thing. The legal system of a country must correlate or must have, must be applicable to the population on which it is being used. Now, the British and I think the Europeans, we are very aware, maybe, but we still are somewhat very civilized society. This is the reason why we no longer have the death penalty.
Yeah.
But what we have done due to migration over the last couple of years, we have, in a sense, de-civilized ourselves. Right? We are more tribal. We have the kind of crimes, gang rape, grooming gangs, etc., that do not exist in a civilized society. Which means, and let me get to the point of this. Like, I'm sure there will be some pushback from your viewers, but this means if I reverse my level of civilizational development, right, the legal system has to adapt to it. And I have to say, for some of these crimes, I'm absolutely in favor of the death penalty. Hang them in Trafalgar Square.
Absolutely right. I mean, I see no reason why.
And I mean it, right? I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm not being hyperbolic. I mean the same in Austria. No, the British of 200 years ago would have understood this very well. You rape little girls, you get hanged in public.
Yeah.
And if your peers and the guys you invited to join you see it, then maybe they think otherwise.
No, I see no earthly reason why. There's a guy, you might have heard of him, called Ian Huntley, who was murdered recently in prison because he was attacked by a fellow inmate who was also a murderer. But because he was in there for raping little girls, he was murdered and he was killed. I see no reason why we, as a tax-paying public, should support these people in prison, for which it costs something like £30,000 to £40,000 a year to keep them. Why should we keep them in prison for decades and decades and decades at a huge expense to us when we could just kill them?
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, I mean, and I think most people, whenever they do a survey or a poll of any kind, which is why newspapers don't do them anymore, to bring back hanging, everybody wants to bring it back.
And I think it has to be, I'm very serious about this, it has to be done publicly, right? You have to make an example. I mean, we wouldn't do it for, petty theft, or if you take some chewing gum out of a Salisbury's or something. But if you commit crimes like gang rape, mass rape, like the most heinous crimes, I think that the punishment should be in accordance with this. And yes, I mean, again, make an example out of it. It's important the state has to show at some point that he calls the shots. Right, this idea that you can do whatever you want and the British public or the British executive can't really do anything about it, I think is horrendous.
Yeah, absolutely right. And this will, and rightly, it should absolutely enrage people, this story on the front page of the Mail today, because not only does it appear that these three Egyptians came on the same boat back in October of last year, back in, I think, October 2024, that they were all put up at taxpayers' expense in a rather nice hotel with 4-poster beds.
Yeah, it's so absurd. I mean, we are in Europe probably the first civilization in history that is providing hotel rooms for the future rapists of our daughters. And this I might sound a little bit hyperbolic, but in some cases that is actually what happened. I mean, I cannot think of another phase in history. I mean, there is this, I think it's from the Greek playwright Euripides, who says, whoever the gods want to punish, they first drive mad. Yes. And we are very much down the hole of being driven mad.
Yeah. Yeah, Pooch tells me it's Nietzsche. I think you said that, but yeah, it's a famous quote, isn't it? And it is, but it's hard to imagine the kind of mindset of people. And we talk to them. I mean, I don't talk to them as much as I used to when I was on my other show. But they'd wheel out these kind of refugee welcome signs, and we'd like more people to come here because it makes the country great, because diversity is our friend. And you go, well, actually, no, it isn't, because we're importing mass criminals into this country. And Pooch and I were talking about this morning. It's nothing to do with the fact that they may or may not be from a different country or from a different religion. It's to do with the fact that they're bad people. They are criminals. And they are rapists and they are murderers, and we should not be letting them in. It's as simple as that. And the idea that we let them in because they're from a different culture, because they're from a different country, because we should somehow be thankful for that, is where the blindness comes in. This country has gone blind. You're literally watching people walking off a boat every single day on the east coast or the southeast coast of Britain, and you can point to all of them and say, these will all commit crimes, all of them. in one way, shape, or form, whether it's shoplifting, whether it's working without paying tax, whether it's raping people, whether it's killing people. These are all people who say they're fleeing war, right? They're not bringing any women with them, and they're just thugs. It's as simple as that, isn't it?
No, it is, and I think that the main reason for this is there's this weird idea that, you know, if you open up your borders, it's a form of atonement for your imperial past. But let's be completely honest, because you mentioned Egypt. I mean, I would make the argument, and I would defend this in any discussion, that Egypt was a more agreeable place under British control than it is now.
Yeah.
I mean, Alexandria was one. I mean, look at the entire Levant, look at the entire Middle East. I'm sorry to say, when it was under Ottoman and then later very short-lived under European control, it was a better place. I'm very sorry. Beirut, Lebanon was better under French control than whatever it is today.
Yeah.
Again, I'm done. Like, I would not have said this 2 or 3 years ago. I'm done with it. I'm no longer excusing or apologizing for our history. What the Europeans, and particularly the British, have done overall in human history, I think, you know, the scales go down on the side that it was a positive effect. No country, no individual is perfect. But overall, I think when the world was more Western dominated, let's put it this way, I think it was a better place than the alternatives.
Yeah.
Yes. There have been incidents that were horrible. I'm the last one to deny this. But as I said, I mean, look at sub-Saharan Africa. Are we really sure, right, that it's better now than it was under European control? Are we really sure about that? It's a kind of objective question, because I'm not.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, look at what's happening in Sudan. Look at what's happening in Somalia and Ethiopia. I mean, these are basically countries which are run by warlords, which are completely lawless, which are completely dangerous, which are run basically by whoever's got the biggest gun. And women and children are raped every single day, killed, burned to death. It's absolutely horrendous. But get this, right? Not only do we not recognise that, and not only are we not supposed to say it, we're actually importing it with glee and going, oh yeah, well, never mind, just come here then. If you're from Somalia, come to Britain. We'll give you a house. You know, bring all 7 children with you. Bring your wife with you. Bring your several wives with you if you want. Don't worry about working, because we'll give you this great system where we just give you free money, universal credit. And not only that, if you want to go to the Tower of London with your kids, you can go for £1 because you don't have any money. And it's like, what the hell is going on?
I mean, as you know, everybody says we don't want to have like boots on the ground in foreign adventures or in foreign military actions. But I think it also goes the other way around. I don't want the boots of my soldiers abroad, but I also don't want the boots of foreigners constantly in my country.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is simply what's happening. I know we have demographic problems. They need to be solved, and we have birth rate problems and all of this. But it's not going to be solved by mass migration from the places where we are getting it from. And I said, this is true in the UK and it's true in continental Europe. And it is, again, for the largest part, it is the existential question of our time. Because if you change the character of a nation, at some point, it's nothing more than a name on a map, but it's no longer recognizable what it was in the past. And I'm sorry to say this. I know nobody wants to hear this, but it makes a difference if, you know, there are more Nigels and Mikes and what have you in the UK than if there are Mahmouds and Ahmeds. It does make, once you reach a certain number, it makes a difference, because people talk about assimilation. Listen, if I would go to the UK and let's say that there would be bits and pieces of the UK where 90% of the population are Austrian and German speaking, I would not integrate or assimilate into the UK, because I'd be surrounded by my countrymen and my culture.
Right.
And the same is, of course, true today. And this is something that nobody wants to admit. Assimilate, but assimilate where and into what? And that gets harder and harder to accomplish.
Yeah. Well, listen, if you extrapolate that and you said, right, let's take a city like Brighton, which is, you know, a very modern, you know, very diverse, very left-wing kind of, you know, place. Lots of trendy people live there. Imagine if Brighton suddenly became German-speaking, right? And everybody who went to Brighton was like, this is a bit weird, you know, everyone's talking German, you know, everyone's German or Austrian or something. I don't know what's going on, you know. Whereas you go to parts of Birmingham, parts of Bradford, parts of the north of England, Rochdale, Blackburn, Burnley, you know, and you find that there are entire communities where nobody's speaking English. But you're not allowed to say anything because, you know, they're diverse and they're, you know, it's wonderful. And, oh, have you been to the curry shop? It's really cool. It's great food. It's really brilliant. They do a great biryani.
Fine. Listen, that's I always say that's
fine.
Absolutely fine.
No, it's not.
No, what I mean is, it's in a city, if you have the occasional, you know, foreign restaurant and stuff, that's all. But the point is, it doesn't have to become 10, 20, 30%. And I want to be very clear about this. I find it a bit absurd. when we discuss on the global stage that Ukraine should remain Ukrainian, when we discuss that Israel should remain a Jewish state, and I'm all for that. But why is it then so absurd to say we want England to remain English and Austria to remain Austrian? I just want the same right for my country that we are, our politicians, yours as well as mine, constantly proclaim for other countries on the global stage. I think the Ukrainians should have a Ukrainian state. The Israelis should have a Jewish state, and the English should have an English state, and the Austrians should have an Austrian state. What is so absurd about this?
Well, isn't it funny that some of those on the left who make a big noise about Palestine having statehood and making sure that Palestine has a Palestinian government, a self-determination and its own currency and all the rest of it, and freedom from Israel, but we can't have it in England. Well, that's the real world, isn't it?
No, and we constantly do land acknowledgements. Okay, fine, then maybe we can do a land acknowledgement at some point, in East London or somewhere. And so, this once was, made by the English. And I'm sorry, I mean, this is, as I said, it's not primarily about ethnicity, but ethnicity is a proxy. And I remember there was a huge bahoo in the UK about the new book by Matt Goodwin, right? Whether he made up some quotes. But let's forget all about this. I mean, it's a number one bestseller because he's talking precisely about what many people in Great Britain feel. Now, whether he made up a quote by Cicero or not, that's neither here nor there.
Again, a typical kind of lefty kind of maneuver in which they basically try and make out that, the book's rubbish because he made up a quote, as opposed to, why don't you actually look at what the book's writing about and the actual substance of what he's saying, forget about whether or not the quote was made up, and actually concentrate on what he's saying. Oh, no, we don't want to do that, because that would require, actual admission of something which is going wrong that we can't admit.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And as I said, I mean, this is at some point we just have to face the fact that a majority of Europeans, including the English and the British, feels that they are losing their home, that they're losing their country. And the problem is, this is what now his name eludes me of the Lotus Eaters, because I don't want to steal somebody else's argument. Carl Benjamin, I think, always very eloquently says is, I mean, we have nowhere else to go. We can't pick the hill on which we want to die because we only have one hill, right? The person who migrates, hypothetically, they can go back home. Where are the Austrians supposed to go? Where are the English supposed to go? This is our hill. We have no other hill, and I think we have every right to defend it.
We do.
This doesn't mean, right?
And also, we shouldn't be self-harming in terms of bringing enough people onto the hill so that there's nowhere for us to actually live on the hill, and that we have to kind of clamber around for a small piece of grass which we can occupy, but it's already occupied by somebody else that we invited in for whom there is no room.
And we are irreplaceable. I think the world will be a much less, beautiful place without the English, without the Italian, without the French. This is my whole point always. I'm a nationalist because I'm pro-diversity. I just want the diversity, not in my country. I want to, jump in a plane or a train and then go into another place and say, oh my God.
Listen, I grew up in London. I grew up in London in the 60s and 70s. My parents were very outward looking. We used to go out once a week. We would go to a different restaurant from a different nationality, and it was fantastic, And my parents took us across Europe. We used to drive to Lido di Jesolo and camp every summer, and we'd drive through Austria. We'd drive through Germany, drive through France. And it was a great experience. Everybody spoke different languages. There was different money. Before the euro, you had to change, francs into Deutschmarks, into Pfennigs, into, lira. It was great. It was really fun. But now, in most of Europe, they've got the same problem we've got here, which is that the whole place has completely and utterly changed. And it's no longer just, oh, that's quite interesting, let's go to Chinatown for the night. Chinatown is still Chinatown, but in other parts of the country, you've got entire, as I say, neighborhoods and entire sections of cities which are kind of no-go areas.
And that's the irony. Like, diversity actually made everything look the same. So you have exactly as you say, you have the same. When I walk through certain parts in Vienna and to certain parts in London, it's the same. Mobile phone shops and barber shops, and it looks exactly the same.
Right.
So supposedly it's about diversity. We look exactly the same.
Yeah, right. And so in terms of Austrians kind of streets, as it were, I mean Vienna and Salzburg, and if you walked around in various different, I mean, is it similar to all other European nations, i.e., full of people from Asia and Africa?
Well, not so much from Asia, right? I think this is more a phenomenon, which I would be given the numbers, right? If we would have more migration from Vietnam or from Taiwan, I would have no problem with that. Again, to a certain degree, but I think it's not as bad.
Well,
as
I'm
it is
thinking
in parts
Asia,
of
as
the-
in like India and Pakistan.
Oh yeah, growing, and that's the thing, right? I mean, we talked about Hungary the last time. The thing is that Viktor Orban lost the election, but the Hungarians have not lost their country, and they are nowhere near to losing their country. But in the UK and in Austria, we are getting in this direction. There are always these weird debates when they say, "Oh, you say it's going to happen in 2030, but if you look at the numbers, it's going to happen in 2035." Okay, fine. So I'm off by 5 years.
Right.
But if you love your country, you think in generations. So I take no comfort in saying, "Oh, Mike and Ralph, you'll never live to experience when particular bits and pieces of the UK really are no longer have any connection to its history." But it's tragic for the coming generations. I mean, the beauty of the patriot and the nationalist is that they are not just living in the present tense. They think in the present, but they also think about the past and the future.
Yeah, it really is quite a depressing thought, really, and there's no sign of it getting any better. As I say, this ridiculousness of building a migrant detention centre in Dunkirk for 140 people, where approximately 140 people get on one boat and come to Britain on a daily basis, times 10. So exactly who are they going to be holding in this detention centre, and how long are they going to be holding them for, and what are they going to do with them?
No, and look at how other countries do it. I mean, can you tell me about the number of migrants that come to Shanghai, right? That come to Beijing, that come to Tokyo. And these are very well developed areas, because the argument is often like people don't migrate to China because it's poorer. Okay, fine, they would not migrate into the poor areas of China, but you certainly can make a living in Shanghai and other areas. But I mean, the Chinese would never allow it. Like the idea that you can live on the public dime as a foreigner in China is so completely absurd. I mean, that the communists would laugh you out of the room. The Chinese communists probably think that the European communists are completely nuts.
Yeah, of course they do. They're going, what on earth? I mean, imagine if you go, I haven't been to Beijing, but if you go to Beijing, is there a little section called, England Town, where you can go and get, scrambled eggs and a bit of bacon? Probably not. I shouldn't imagine.
Yeah, it's called Hong Kong.
Yeah, that's called Hong Kong. Yeah, but even that's not. Yeah, but they soon broke that one down as well.
Of course, absolutely.
Yeah, they took it all back. Anyway, Ralph, listen, great to see you. Fantastic as ever to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Mike.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
And of course, you will be back next week, hopefully.
I hope I'll be back next week. I mean, we should make this a regular thing so that your viewers can plan accordingly.
You're absolutely right. We should indeed. Thank you very much. Ralph Schillhammer there. He'll be
Mike.
back. Of course he'll be back. I mean, we just like to hear him saying it. Now, lots of you have got messages coming in. Change the Starmer alert to bullshit alert, says Mark Stevens on the super chat. Thank you very much indeed. Keep those coming. One from Sexy. Enoch Powell predicted our future. He did. But I think even he would be shocked at how quickly it's happened. Colin says they have no regard for the human rights of their victims. Why should we care for theirs? Snip, snip. I think that means castration would be a good thing for these. I mean, this smirking, horrible, ghastly, murdering scumbag rapist on the front page of The Sun today, who happens to be from Egypt, right? Karin al-Danasut. He's 20 years of age. He arrived here illegally in June 2025, 4 months before this, as it's been called, cynical, predatory and callous assault on a girl who was raped after leaving a nightclub at 5 o'clock in the morning down in Brighton. He and two fellow laughing attackers were convicted yesterday alongside him. They arrived on the same boat in September 2024. They were all living in the same taxpayer-funded hotel in Horsham. I mean, if that is not the beginning of the end of anybody's understanding of why this has to stop, I don't know what is. I don't know what you would have to do to fail to see how this is ruining our country. I don't know what you would have to do to understand that this is completely and utterly rotting away at the fabric of our society. I'll be talking about it on my meltdown very shortly. Coming up, though, let's get some news. Fiona MacLeod is here.
Good morning. I'm Fiona MacLeod in for Edward Hughes. Poor Eddie has an appointment with his solicitor in Swindon that he can't get out of. Prime Minister Keir Starmer remains under intense pressure over the Peter Mandelson vetting scandal, with ongoing parliamentary scrutiny and cabinet tensions after the former Labour figure's appointment as US ambassador collapsed amid security and Epstein-linked concerns. In foreign affairs, the UK is preparing to deploy RAF Typhoons to help secure the Strait of Hormuz amid the Iran conflict and US involvement, while Donald Trump has threatened tariffs on the UK over its digital services tax. Other headlines. The assisted dying bill looks set to fail in Parliament. The BBC has axed its long-running football-focused programme after 52 years. Please remember to like and subscribe. See you later. Alligators.
Thank you, Fiona. Very well read, I have to say. She's good. I like her. I think she's better than Edward Hughes, who's apparently... yes, Fiona, says Brian. The funny thing about Fiona is that women don't seem to like her. I don't know why. I don't know why that is. They like Edward Hughes, though. But he's got his own problems. Can you pronounce the letter T, please, Fiona, says Carol. I didn't know she wasn't pronouncing the letter T. Is she not doing that? Doesn't care. Yeah, I know. I think she does a really good job, and I think, to be honest, you know, like I said, we've got the stories on the front pages about Alex Scott as the presenter of Football Focus, effectively killing it off. They're not really saying it. The newspapers are kind of going there, but not going there. But they've got BBC kills off Football Focus after 52 years as ratings tank, and then the small letters at the bottom of the caption say "Go woke, go broke." Presenter Alex Scott. So they're sort of not quite, I don't know, they're not quite brave enough to say it, but they're kind of hinting at it, which I think is a bit mealy-mouthed and a little bit sort of sneaky, to be honest. But there we are. Coming up later on, Lewis MacLeod is going to be joining us. He's, of course, with us on the live show on the 6th of May. If you haven't got your tickets yet for Mike Graham and Friends at the Shepherd's Bush Empire, go ahead to Ticketmaster and go and find some, because there's still a few going. They're not in the front rows. They're not in the stalls. They're probably in the circle above the second or third tier. But it's going to be a hell of a night. Also, Christian Drogan's going to be here from Watchmen. I don't know where he's been this week, but he'll be probably saying something about the new detention centre that they're building in Dunkirk for 140 migrants who probably will be sitting there for a while before they get on dinghies to come here. And also our favourite bishop, Bishop Kai Dewar, will be talking to us alongside Annunziata Rees-Mogg, who's going to be here just towards the end of this hour. Right now, though, we're going to talk to Kate Hardcastle.
Just disappeared for a second.
Oh, has she?
Shepherd's Bush Empire video.
Oh, okay, let's do Shepherd's Bush Empire video then. Have a look at this. This is where we're going to be on May the 6th. Check it out. Welcome to the Shepherd's Bush Empire, the home of free speech, certainly for one night only, May the 6th, right here on the stage in front of me. You'll be here behind me. There'll be loads and hundreds of you will be here watching a fantastic show, Mike Graham and Friends. We've got Lewis MacLeod, one of the world's greatest impressionists. He'll do his Donald Trump. I'm sure he's got a Starmer now. He's got to do a Starmer, otherwise we're not letting him in. He's also very good at Nigel Farage, of course. He'll do that. We've got Intel Lady as well. She's going to do Emily Maitlis, you know, with a fake tan, brilliant. And also the fantastic Bridget Phillipson. She'll also do Angela Rayner and all of those great Labour women. You'll see all of that. We're going to have Right Said Fred going to be here. I'm too sexy for my shirt, right? Too sexy. Too sexy. And then we're going to have Carol Decker from Tapau. She's promised that she might not sing, so we don't know if she's going to do that. But it's China in your hand, apparently. Not in my hand. He keeps changing. That's why I get confused. She keeps me a bollocking. And then Pooch, of course, is here producing it. Absolutely brilliant. My kids are going to be here, hopefully helping out. We'll have merchandise for you. You can have shirts, you can have hats, you can have bumper stickers, all sorts of stuff going on. Donald MacLeod will be here, of course, as well, Lewis's brother. He's masterminding the whole thing. Fantastic guests are going to be joining as well. Will Geddes is going to be here, our favourite international man of mystery. Marilyn Hawes, our favourite piss artist, she's going to be here. Doing Plonk of the Week. Chris Walkey's going to bring a few bottles of fizz with us, but we're not allowed to drink before the show because otherwise that would be a no-no. And then, of course, we've got Anna McGovern. Emma Wolf is going to be here, we think. We've got Stephen Barrett, the world's greatest barrister, right? We're going to get the benefit of him. We're going to be sitting there on the stage, sofas, desks. We're going to have clocks. We must have some clocks, actually. A couple of herons as well. Yeah, I think we'll have a heron or two. And obviously, it'd be nice if we had a couple of dogs to bring on, but we haven't. but we may not be allowed to do that. But it's May the 6th. If you haven't got a ticket yet, Ticketmaster is where you get it, ticketmaster.co.uk. Look for the Shepherd's Bush Empire. It's the O2, May the 6th. Doors open around about 7 o'clock. It's going to be a fantastic night. I can't wait for it personally. It's going to be tremendous, absolutely amazing. I can't wait. See you there. Thank you very much indeed. I don't know why I'm thanking myself. Pooch and I are just saying we're really looking forward to it. It's going to be fantastic. If you are coming, by the way, give us a little shout out in the chat, in the YouTube chat. Tell us that you are going to be there, and tell us where you're coming from. Because I know we've already heard from people coming from Scotland, people coming from Ireland, people coming from Wales, the north of England. Lots of people coming down, making a sort of a couple of days out of it for London, which will be tremendous, absolutely amazing. Craig says our ticket's £2 for Universal Credit benefit claimants. No, we're not doing that. If you can't afford to buy a ticket, we're not giving you one for a low cost just because you're unemployed, I'm afraid. Although we are doing a discount for veterans, and veterans will know that through We Served with Hugh Andre, which we'll tell you about in a little while. Shall we? I think we've lost Kate Hardcastle, though. She seems to have disappeared. So if we can't get her back on, I'll tell you what we can do now. Why don't we do my meltdown? So, you heard me talking earlier about this, but we will continue to talk about it throughout the course of the show because the front page of The Sun today has a picture of a man, 20 years of age, whose name is Karim Al-Danasurt. He's aged 20 years. He arrived here illegally in June 2025, 4 months before a cynical, predatory and callous assault on a young woman in Brighton, who he raped alongside 2 of his friends, who also came on the same boat in September 2024. All 3 of them lived in a taxpayer-funded hotel in a place called Horsham, which is not far from Brighton. He's smiling because he doesn't care. He's laughing because he thinks it's funny. He's got a sort of what looks like a pair of underpants over his head. He's handcuffed. He's being led away from the court in Hove yesterday, where he will be sentenced later, I think today or sometime next week, for the rape of this young woman who left the nightclub at around about 5 o'clock in the morning, was followed by this character when his 2 friends all along the seafront as she was looking for her own friends coming from the club, a Horizon nightclub in Brighton. She visits a nearby Burger King on the seafront at 5:30 a.m. 2 of the asylum seekers start talking to her at 5:40 a.m., according to this piece in The Sun. At 5:44, CCTV captures her being led by them to the beach. And at 5:45, she's gang raped on the beach by those 3 asylum seekers. Now, this, if it doesn't put the migrant boat crisis into perspective, I don't know what does, because what this shows you is that these 3 men came here on a small boat illegally, right? Came to this country illegally. It turns out that the main protagonist, this bloke who's laughing, Karim Al-Danasurt, is from Egypt, as is one of the other attackers, and the 3rd one is from, I think, Iran. He came to this country because he was escaping a murder charge. He had been charged with murder in Egypt, right, at the age of 20. He told the police, he told the border force and immigration officials that he was fleeing a murder charge, and he said that because he said it was a case of mistaken identity. And unfortunately for us, and for the young girl who ended up getting raped by him, our officials believed him. They didn't say, then you must be some kind of bad guy. They didn't say, well, in that case, why don't we put you in a cell until we can figure out whether or not you are the man that is sought by the Egyptian authorities for murder. You've been convicted of murder, so therefore we should put you in a prison cell until we can work out whether or not you're innocent. But they didn't do that. Instead, they put him in a hotel. They put him in a hotel with 4-poster beds. They put him in a hotel where there was round-the-clock security. They put him in a hotel where they had free food, 3 meals a day. They put him in a hotel where there was probably a pool table, maybe even a bar, certainly gardens which he could walk around freely. These people are coming to this country and living here at no cost to themselves. They're not paying for their food. They're not paying for their lodging. They're not paying for their washing. They're not paying for their laundry. They're not paying anything towards the exchequer of this country. Instead, we're paying them to live here. We're paying them to live here. We're paying them to live here. I'm going to keep saying it until you get it through your heads. We're paying them to live here. It's a bit like football. If you imagine standing at a football match and you're a Millwall fan, for example, and you're in your own stadium in Millwall, South London, one of those places where you won't go if you're a foreign fan, if you're a fan from another team. It's not the sort of place you would go, because Millwall fans notoriously are not very welcoming, shall we say, to fans from other clubs. They're particularly unwelcoming to fans from other London clubs, particularly South London clubs or East London clubs, West Ham, for example, or Crystal Palace. So the equivalent situation would be if you're standing or sitting at the end that you always sit at in Millwall, as it's sometimes pronounced, and you watch your team every single week, week in, week out, alternate weeks, obviously, because sometimes you play away. But in your home stadium, you sit in your seat that you pay for as a season ticket holder. And suddenly you find that standing behind you are about 100 West Ham fans. And the 100 West Ham fans don't have anywhere to sit. So you have to get out of the way so that they can sit down. And then you have to move out of the way so that they can chant their songs and cheer for their team. And then they say, not only do they want to be able to cheer for their team, but they want you to cheer for their team as well. So that when you wanted to go to your football match and you wanted to support your own team, you found that you were being usurped. You found that you were being pushed out of the way by people who didn't belong there, by people who didn't pay to be there. In fact, by people who were provided free tickets by Millwall, the football club, which decided it was a great idea to cannibalise its own membership, who decided it was a great idea to fill the stadium with people who actually didn't have anything good to do for the team, who didn't have anything but bad thoughts for the team, and who wanted to stand where you stand and push you out of the way so that they could cheer for their own team. That's effectively what we're doing. This guy is just one of many, right? 70,000 of these people have come here since Labour got into power. And there was plenty of thousands more before that, when Boris Johnson was in charge and when Theresa May was in charge and when Rishi Sunak was in charge. He was going to stop the boats, remember? So this guy, Karim Al-Danasut, is only really one small part of the picture, but he's a terribly typical part of the picture. He's a murderer, he's a rapist, and we paid for him to live here at our expense. We paid for him to come to our country. We paid for him to eat our food. We paid for him to sleep in a nice warm bed. We paid for him to rape one of our young women. He's literally been given a bonus for committing that crime. We're now going to be paying to put him in prison because we won't send him back to Egypt because he would face the death penalty because he's a murderer. I couldn't care less. You just heard Ralph Schulhammer saying, why are we not murdering these people? Why are we not hanging them? He's guilty of murder. We should send him back to Egypt today, right now. I don't want to pay to put him up. I don't want to pay to put him in prison. Send him back there now. Let them kill him. That's their job. Nothing to do with us. We are not a holding pen for scumbags. We are not a place where people should be coming. We should not be inviting these people in. We should be turning them around as soon as they get here. It's really that simple, isn't it? So, that's the news. I'm coming from the Philippines. I hope to meet you, says He's Action Jackson. Brilliant. Well, we will see you there. This is on the night of the May the 6th, the Shepherd's Bush Empire. Coming from the Philippines. I wonder if we can find anywhere that's further away than that. I don't think we can. I bet that's about as far away as anybody's travelled. That'd be amazing. Do you remember we did that show in New York, Pooch, and we had people flying in from all over the place? Coming all the way from Ascot, says Lord Petrolhead. Top man. Yeah, there might be people who were actually at the show in New York. Got my tickets. I'll be hopping on the tube, says the Jackster. Well, let's hope they're not on strike. They were on strike yesterday, although maybe they'll have solved the problem by then. Maybe we should get Millwall fans to manage border control, says Alpha Silk. Yeah, that would probably be a better idea, wouldn't it? Absolutely right. I'm being told that it's possible that our last guest was offended by the migrant chat. You're joking. That can't be right, can it? Kate Hardcastle? Nah, she must have just dropped off, I think. There we go. Listen, I'll tell you what we're going to do. Because we're talking about the 6th of May and the big show we're doing, why don't we play a little clip of Lewis MacLeod? Because he's going to be on the show coming up today, around about 9:10. Why don't we play, this is Lewis's, this viral video that he made. This is him doing Donald Trump. Very, very funny. He does one of the greatest Donald Trump impressions ever, and he's going to be on top form. I spoke to him the other night, and he was telling me how he's going to be approaching the evening and what he's going to be talking about. And it's going to be absolutely hilarious. Check this out.
Great job, great job. It is a great honor for you to hear me tell you about the latest war I've ended. I'm stopping wars everywhere. 7 since I began this speech, including the War of the Roses, the War of the Worlds, War for Planet of the Apes, War Horse, World War Z, Star Wars, and the Civil War in America. I'm working on that one in the moment.
He's very, very good. We've got the Mike Graham and Friends show coming together. We're ready and very, very much looking forward to it. And What's the kind of show, Mike? So the show is going to be basically a live version of this show, right? So we're going to start off by interviewing people. Stephen Barrett is going to be there, our favourite barrister. He's going to be coming on probably first, actually, to talk to us about the state of play. Because the thing is, by the time we get to May the 6th, which will be, 2 weeks from now? Yeah. Slightly less than, it's actually less than 2 weeks, isn't it? It's a week on Wednesday. Who knows where Keir Starmer will be, right? Because we've got a situation currently where Keir Starmer is basically hanging on for grim death. He gave an interview yesterday about the cabinet where he said, the cabinet are working very hard. And when he was asked if the cabinet were all behind him, he didn't actually answer the question because, he doesn't actually answer the question, right? The bottom line is, he's probably still going to be here at that point, right? I hope that he's not. I would hope that Keir Starmer has shuffled off by the time we get to a week on Wednesday. But it will be the eve, effectively, of the local elections. So even if he is still there, surely to God, by the weekend, he'll be, as they say in politics, considering his position. Because the Labour government and the Labour Party is going to get absolutely trounced by reform. And if not trounced by reform, trounced by the Greens. So basically going to be trounced by everyone. So we'll have all of that to talk about. And on the eve of the voting, the theatre will be full. We'll be talking to Stephen Barrett. We'll also be talking to Carol Decker. Now, Carol Decker, of course, is the lead singer of T'Pau. And at this point, Pooch will try and put me off saying what the title of the famous song is. The title of the famous song is China in My Hand. Your hand. No! See, he keeps saying that. He keeps saying it's China in your hand, and every time I get it wrong, she corrects me on. She sends me a note and says, "You bloody idiot! Would you mind getting it right? It's China in my hand, I think." And funnily, I was talking to her yesterday. Actually, and she was offering to sing it, but we're not sure if she's going to sing it or not. But it doesn't matter because she's got very, very many interesting things to say. She's a woman of some substance, and she's a woman who's got some very, very interesting views, many of which I would say curtail very much with mine. We'll also be getting Right Says Fred. Right, see, I've got that wrong as well, haven't I? Right Said Fred. It's not Right Says Fred. No. Right Said Fred. It's easy to mess these things up, though. So Right Said Fred are going to be there. And you might remember Right Said Fred and I first kind of came across each other during COVID because Right Said Fred became very active on the kind of anti-lockdown front. And they used to go to all of the anti-lockdown demos. They used to go to Trafalgar Square, where the police were more than happy to crack a few heads open because you might be considered far right by the Metropolitan Police. And they became sort of poster boys, if you like, for the movement. For those of us who thought that lockdown was a load of old crap. For those of us who thought that wearing masks was not necessary. For those of us who thought that actually there's no real need to protect yourself from everybody else. There's no need to stand a metre away from somebody in front of you in a queue to go into a supermarket. There's no need to put a mask on to get on a tube train. There's literally no need to put a mask on when you stand up in a restaurant to go to the bathroom. There's no need, to wash your hands every single 5 minutes or use, what was that awful stuff? Hand sanitizer. I mean, do you remember? I mean, I remember seeing people whose hands were literally red raw because they'd rubbed so much of this horrible alcohol-dependent sort of, hand sanitizer on their hands, and their hands were literally, the skin was literally coming off them. Right? People, you still see it, by the way. People driving car. You're driving a car with a mask on. What's wrong with you, right? I mean, even if you think that the air coming into the car and being filtered as an air conditioning system is somehow contaminated, you can actually hit that little switch, can't you? Which means that the air that you breathe is simply recycled from inside the car. So, for example, if you're driving behind somebody who's got a really stinky old petrol machine from about 35 years ago, because you do actually smell the petrol from the old cars, don't you? Even if you want to do that, why would you wear a mask in a car? I remember I didn't actually go on this particular trip, but my kids and their mother went to Portugal on a trip during this time. And people were wearing masks on the beach. People were actually swimming in masks. What sort of an idiot do you have to be to put a mask on to go into the sea?
I got arrested twice for not wearing masks.
Did you?
Yeah.
In England?
In England, yeah.
You see, the police were mad. Everybody went mad. I remember getting in. I mean, I know many of you will have done all of these things, and many of you will have remembered them. But I remember very much in the early days of COVID, the first few sort of weekends, when I didn't go to Sussex because, for one thing, I wasn't sure if I'd be stopped by the police and wouldn't be allowed back into London. But I had what they call one of those essential workers cards, because I was going into work every day. I was going into talk every day to do my show. I was literally sometimes the only person in the building apart from security. But I remember thinking one day, I thought, I can't just keep, I live in a fairly small apartment in London. I can't just go from one room to the other and then go into that room, put Netflix on and watch something, and then go back in the other room and put, Prime on and watch something else. Shirley says, I still see people wearing masks in cars. Yeah, I do. I mean, you still do see people wearing masks. And you just think, what's the matter with you? Gloves for Cares tripled in price. People wearing them on the bus. I remember actually, in my office, we used to have three things. You'd go in and they would have those latex gloves. They would have, and there was a big sort of shelf as you went into the main lobby of the building. Loads of hand sanitizer, little bottles, right? And masks. And it was quite a weird thing. And I really didn't wear a mask at all, for the most part. I think even if I was told to put one on, but certainly not in the office. But I mean, I'm trying to remember if I had any incidents. But Pooch's telling me he got arrested twice. And what did they do then? Did they charge you?
They didn't charge me, but once I got taken home in a police car.
Really?
Yeah.
What, in the back of a police car with no mask?
Yeah.
Were they not worried you would contaminate them?
I wouldn't wear a mask in an Uber, and the cab driver attacked me, so I defended myself.
I got that. In fact, I was coming back from a party at James Whale's place when he was still alive, and I got back to Victoria, and I ordered an Uber, and the guy reported me because I wouldn't put a mask on, right? And I got an email from them saying that they were going to deactivate my account unless I could account for the fact that I had a good reason for not wearing a mask. So I just wrote them an email to say that basically I couldn't wear a mask because I was anxious, and they let me off. So there's Starmer. That's a real picture, by the way.
It looks like you.
That actually does. That's horrific.
Yeah, as if those things.
That is horrific. Do you remember that? Because he went, and when he was wearing that, right, he was sitting outside having a meeting with some people on a picnic table, right? And it was like a visor.
Yeah.
And you just think, what is wrong with you?
Lewis is here.
And those bloody awful, dreadful press briefings that Boris Johnson used to do, to say, and here comes old Chris Whitty, You know, oh look, there's a graph over here which proves that we're fighting the COVID. You know, what's that load of old bollocks? Honestly, I'm sorry, absolute rubbish. Hey, anyway, what are we doing now? Lewis MacLeod's here. Blimey, Lewis MacLeod. Very good morning to you, sir.
Hey, morning, Mike.
Are you reporting into us from an exotic port of call?
Yeah, I'm in France.
France.
That's exotic for me.
Well, imagine if you were George Galloway. He seems to have left the country. I don't know where he is these days. Have you seen him lately?
I am hiding. Some people think I am in Bali, but as you well know, let me be very clear. Listen, man, I watched one of his posts the other day there and I fell off the sofa. But and he starts off very gentle, as you know. But with all the elections and all the hoo-ha about Trump meeting the king, let us not forget the 3 Ukrainian rent boys.
He's brilliant. I love George. I mean, I suspect he wouldn't come on this show anymore because he probably thinks it's far too right-wing. But he and I used to have some great chats. I once told him about the 47 Club, and he became very interested because he was. I said, "Have you ever heard of the 47 Club?" And he's no. I said, "This is the thing where the number 47 is the most frequently occurring random number in the world, right?" And apparently, and it was in this whole 47 Club sort of theory was started by some mathematical professor in America. And for example, there's all kinds of instances of 47 being used in things like Star Trek. You know, in the Star Trek, in the Klingon battle formation, there's 47 battleships, for example. And I think in Friends, when they order Chinese food, they order number 47. I mean, it's all this kind of mad stuff. And then he said, "Well, I'm traveling to America shortly." And I said, "Well, I hope you're not going on a Boeing 747." And he became obsessed. He literally was like, and he's like, "I may have to check the plane. I'm going to go on a different plane." It was brilliant. It was fantastic.
Tell them I can fly from anywhere at 757. Even rumor has it that a Cessna can reach a ceiling of 47,000 feet. This has to change. See, I thought there isn't a club called the 33 Club? Disney had one, and it's in one of the Disney parks. There's apparently a club called 33.
Oh, really? What's that about?
Exclusive. Well, I don't know. It's like a private club in Disney World that you can, you know, if you're a member of you can go for your lunch. You know, if you stumble on it and you're on
it'd be some kind of satanic thing, wouldn't it? You know,
you can't come in unless you are dressed like a goat, which is the.
Anyway, listen, I'm delighted to say that you will be joining us on May the 6th for our extravaganza, Mike Graham and Friends. It's going to be a fabulous night, and we don't want to give too much away, but you are the man of a million voices. So, I mean, will you be giving us a little taste of the De Niro, Pacino sort of scenario?
Well, I just love when, you know, when you got him talking about like this guy, you know, the two of them, they become like from pole to pole, you know, you got this guy said, you know, we no kings, we got to get our country back. You got to fight for your country. You know, it's like, you know, I watch a lot of these movies. They're great, you know, and you got nothing. You're just a lot of talking a badge. I don't even have a badge. I got my flag on my lapel. You're nothing. You got nothing.
I mean, the trouble with I was saying to Pooch the other night, you and I were chatting on the phone, and I was literally in stitches because this is what, when you talk to Lewis MacLeod, this is what you get. You just literally get this stream of hilarious impressions of people. Sorry, Pooch, what was that?
I nearly crashed on the M4 talking to Lewis.
He said he nearly crashed on the M4 talking to you because it was that funny. But it is. I mean, you are a genius. I mean, I know that you're not supposed to say things to people like that, but you really are. I mean, and also this year, that clip we played a little while ago of you doing Trump with all the wars that he'd won, which went massively viral, didn't it?
Oh, well, the writing in that is magnificent, and that the eye, as you know, you've got some of the best writers in the world. You got Ian Hislop writing, Tom Jameson, Nev Fountain. They're stunning writers, and they do this thing where they sort of conflate the idea into a premise that just sort of works. And that thing about wars, it was such a gift for comedic purpose. You know, you had, I think that we did 9 of them. I think there was 9. And then the comments come in on socials where people, but you missed this war and you missed that one. You know, it sort of involves other people. They create other ideas out of it. That sketch was really, really funny. And I had no idea that it would go so incredibly viral around the world. I mean, it's... I've been on Indian television. I've been on Delhi broadcast talking about it, and France. You know, I went to the market and I was buying cheese. I'm getting funny looks off people at the end of the counter. And all that. You forget, you know, the people go, "Are you an actor? Do you do President Trump?" Oh, right, okay. So yeah, it's great. A lot of wars we've ended. You know, I just watched one, and he was talking about that. You know, I do this as president. We've taken the Lincoln Memorial. It was leaking water, and we took the granite. It was, you know, they wanted $300 million to repair it. So he says, and he shows you a photograph of what it looked like. He holds up the photograph, and he goes, and you think, oh, okay, it looks like a half-empty pool. And he goes, so I found a few guys that I know. We managed to get the down from 300 million to just about $1.5 million in 2 weeks. And then he shows you, the thing that made me laugh was he held up a photograph of the post, you know, work done, and it's the exact same photograph.
But this is the thing. He was talking today, we played a clip earlier of him saying he's not happy about the fact that he hasn't built the ballroom yet, you know, the new ballroom in the White House, because obviously he makes it sound like it's some kind of pokey little kind of social club. He's going to have to entertain the king in, and he's a bit embarrassed by it all. Unfortunately, it's not, you know, the ballroom's not ready yet. But when it's ready, you know, it'll be the Trump. They'll call it the Trump White House or something, right? Or the Trump House. They'll just, you know. Do you remember he was at one point somebody said, "Have you considered renaming the Straits of Hormuz the Straits of Trump?" And he would. Why wouldn't he? You know.
I would. It looks like a duodenum. It's like it's the stomach of the world, you know. And I had a great colonoscopy, so why not?
I think it's brilliant. Also, of course, the king is going there. You do Charles, don't you? I think you do.
I sort of, I think, I try. And it's very, it's getting that thing that he does. Yeah. I met him in 2014.
Did you?
Aye. And he, of course, I forget because the late HMQ, she was a great mimic apparently as well. And because Charles is a brilliant mimic. You know, remember that clip of him?
Didn't he?
That's right, and that's the clip that if you watch that, I think it's on YouTube. He's really good. I mean, his tonal shifts are fantastic. You know, so he was really interested in that aspect. He actually said to me, he said, "You must have hundreds of voices," you know. And he said he got really interested because I was doing the voice of Postman Pat at the time, and he was like, "So you're the voice of Postman Pat?" And that's right, because I went. He said, "What does he sound like?" And I said, "Hello, Mrs. Goggins," and he said, "Ah."
I mean, do you ever get tempted to do the voice of the person you're talking to when you're talking to them? Like, if you would, but does that ever happen? I mean, because you know how some people mimic each other.
All right. Well, if you in football, there was a show that I'm sort of still attached to, Off the Ball on Radio Scotland, and you'd go to a dinner and meet one of the players. Alex McLeish was one of them, who's actually a really funny, brilliant guy. But when I first met him, though, you know, because we always did him, it's really serious, you know. Yeah. And so I remember bounding up to him at this dinner, like, "Have you egg?" I say, "A big egg." He goes, I walked up to him and I went, "I do you on Off the Ball," and he leaned in. "I don't talk like that." And I thought I was going to get a kicking.
Well, they're quite hard, because also the footballers are all quite hard men, aren't they? You don't want to upset them.
Oh, aye. You don't want that. But they all love getting mimicked. I mean, if you take a caricature of them, and it can work really well. There's another event that's happening in the 15th in May for McCoist and Macaulay. They've not been on stage for about 27 years. And Ali McCoist was one that I did a lot. You know, definitely, I always say, definitely so, superb. It was always this, it got you into the voice, definitely so, superb.
He's a lovely guy as well, Ali. I used to see him at TalkSport.
They're brilliant, they're diamond guys, you know. And Fred, whenever I do Fred, he's always laughing before I speak, because he knows I'm going to go, Well, okay. that's the cue in for doing a Fred. They're great guys.
We've just had a request from Lord Viking. He says, "Can you do your brother Donald?" Oh, you do a great Donald MacLeod, don't you?
My brother, because the weather's getting better. Every time I hear a garden strimmer, I think my brother Donald's in the garden. You go to the beach and you hear a jet ski. It's like, and then he does that thing where when he's thinking, people that do it, I don't know if he's like a print preview of what you're going to look like in 10 years. He starts making noises when he's thinking. A motorbike, an idle.
It's great, isn't it? Because it's not, you don't even have to say a word. It's just that's him, isn't it? It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
You've got to do what's his face, Ian McKellen. That's one of my favourites when you do Ian McKellen.
Well, thank you so much, Mike. And there's so much happening in the world. And he's good voice, isn't he? He's good. Well, and that you shall not. I want him to do that. He should be hired by FIFA to do an ad for the World Cup.
He should.
He just goes into the camera. You shall not on England. You know.
Yeah, I know. These are all great. I mean, the thing is, a lot of the new kind of people, I suppose. I mean, it's not. You don't want to sound at the risk of sounding like an old duffer. There's not a lot of younger people that you do because there's not that many people that are interesting anymore. I don't think. You know, a lot of the impressions you do are older people, aren't they?
I guess so. Broadcasters, if you just have to hear them on the telly or on the thing enough. Some of the newscasters on BBC that are younger, and Nick Eardley. Nick Eardley, there's people that talk, is that a guy who talks like that? I mean, he must be in his sort of 30s. You know, there's some that you can, but you're right. I mean, I'm 55, so yeah. But as long as you can get a sense of them, if they're in their 30s, it's got to sound comedic and a bit authentic. I guess it's got to sound a bit like them. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, I've literally got tears running down my face. It's brilliant. People are saying it is a great tonic because it is. I mean, we are in a pretty miserable place. I mean. You've got, because of course we're expecting a Farage landslide. You should probably do a bit of Farage for us as well.
Yeah. Well, the thing about doing Farage is I'm going to be careful actually because no. Let me speak. I noticed I watched the. But let's be very serious. You can go into it looks like, from the latest news reports, you can go into a corner shop on the street and buy a gram of cocaine. It's unbelievable. It's got to stop. It's got to change. And we're the party to do it. But it's getting that when he laughs through, he speaks, and then suddenly takes that hairpin, where he's pissing himself laughing, but then absolutely becomes very serious. So you've got a serious point to make.
It's brilliant. Yeah. Oh, man. It's really great. Well, listen, we're very much looking forward to it. We're actually at the point now where we're going, because, when it's so far away, you don't think about it. It's a week on Wednesday, so, we're getting very excited. So I don't know when you're coming over, but will we see you before then, do you think? Or will we see you on Wednesday?
I'll be there on the 6th. From the last chat I had with you about it, I think it's the 6th. And
it is the 6th, yeah. Wednesday night,
Wednesday night, I think Elon Musk might have an announcement to make about somebody who's going to appear. So that'd be quite good. I'll deal with Putch. I'll speak to Putch about that.
Yeah,
so
very good. Yeah,
there'll be a few surprises, I think.
It's good to have the world's richest man involved, just in case we don't sell enough tickets.
I think it'll be an epic evening. I'm fully behind it. I think it'll be great.
It's going to be brilliant.
I hope my brother's here.
Keep him away, actually, because he's already threatening to come down the night before. I'm like, no, don't do that, because he'll want to take me out of the Terps. And I'm like, I don't want to do that, Come on!
Turks is on sale. You're getting a sleeper train. They sell Turks by a litre. So you'll be reeking by the time you get off the train in Houston.
Oh my God.
this sink.
It'll be bloody amazing. Anyway, listen, Lewis, thank you so much for coming on, and
Thanks for having me on, mate.
We'll see you a week on Wednesday. Brilliant, absolutely amazing.
Can't wait.
Good stuff. Thank you very much. See you later. Oh
All the
man,
best.
I need to go for a lie down now. What are we doing now?
We've now got Callum Miller.
So funny. He's
Show
just.
starts at 7:30. By the way, Will Geddes was asking.
Oh yeah, well the show, because I think the doors open at 7. So if you want to make sure you're there in time, in good time, just get there just after 7, and then the show starts about 7:30, 7:40, something like that. Coming up, we've got an Anunziata Rees-Mogg to talk to. We've got Kelvin McKenzie coming on. Christian Drogan's here as well. Bishop Kai Dewar with a Sunday sermon for us for the weekend. I'm going to need to recondition myself. Maybe another coffee. And shall we play another clip, shall we?
We've got Dr. Callum Miller here.
Yeah, I'm just thinking before we do that, just for the purposes of humour, why don't we play Alex Norris MP, who is an MP from the Labour government, the Labour Party, I should say, who actually thinks Starmer's doing a good job. Check this out.
Do you still have full faith in Sir Keir Starmer to lead this country, and will he still be Prime Minister after the May elections?
Yes, to all of those questions, Kate. I mean, Keir is a man of great integrity. Look at his record in public service.
Honestly, I think talking about integrity is laughable to have put Mandelson in that position when everyone knew that he was a dodgy character from before. You have to remember that his nickname was Prince of Darkness. I don't buy it. I used to be part of the Labour Party. I listened to that and felt embarrassed. There's a local election coming up in 2 weeks, and the Labour Party is really going to find out how angry people are with them on this, on cost of living, on the fact that they focus on boats instead of billionaires and them not paying their taxes.
Peter Harry.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to imagine you could actually find anyone who would tell you that they thought Keir Starmer was doing a great job. But there are people out there, incredibly. One of the big stories of this year, I would say, has been, in addition to, obviously, the migrant story we talked about earlier, the welfare story that's on the front page of the Daily Mail today as well, but also very much the whole assisted dying debate, which has been running backwards and forwards from the House of Commons into the House of Lords. We've got Esther Ranson on the front page of the Daily Express today. We're going to talk now to Dr. Callum Miller about what is actually going on, because it looks as though, I think I'm right in saying, Dr. Callum, that the assisted dying bill has pretty much died a death, if you pardon the pun. Tell us what's going on, please. Good morning.
Morning. Sorry not to be as entertaining as your last guest and to bring the tone down quite a bit, but I think this is good news that we can celebrate still, even if a more serious topic. So today, the assisted dying bill, the bill that would basically legalize a state suicide service and put dying on the NHS or suicide on the NHS, is running out of time in the House of Lords, which means that in this session, it basically can't become law. There's going to be no more time for this to get through the House of Lords. And that's really because the bill has been so poorly worded, so poorly thought out, so many problems, so many lack of safeguards, that there has been endless scrutiny or in fact, so much scrutiny, so much rightful and good scrutiny, that, the bill's supporters just simply have not had the answers to actually reply to that scrutiny. And so, no one asked for this bill. It was in no manifesto. No one was pushing for this. It's not on a priority list for any significant number of voters. And so I think we can be glad that, whether we can say the government has listened or not, I don't know, because they don't seem to listen to much. But they do seem that they won't be able to ram this through against that scrutiny. So I think that's something that we can be pleased about.
Yes, because I think there was an awful lot of dismay from all corners, really, not necessarily from people just who didn't think it was a good idea, but just at the kind of pace at which it was being produced, and at the kind of the lack of what seemed to be a lack of consideration for all of the very complicated issues that it was raising.
Well, exactly, and it came out of nowhere very quickly. It came through the private members' ballot, so it was kind of a stroke of luck that it came up. And private members' bills very rarely go anywhere, and so this sense of entitlement that a private members' bill that no one asked for, no one had in their manifesto, the large majority of the public see significant concerns with. The idea that this should just obviously become law is really, I think, the sense of lack of touch and distance from the public that the government seems to exemplify pretty commonly, and this sense that they can just do whatever they want, no matter what the people think, and no matter what a position is brought, no matter how dangerous it might be for vulnerable people, and the government just seemed determined to push it through. And I mean, this would be something that pretty much every, a huge number, a countless list of major organizations have opposed because of the lack of safeguards. And these are not sort of, conservative religious organizations. These are organizations like medical professional bodies, organizations that care for disabled people. Dozens and dozens and dozens of them have said this bill is simply not fit for purpose. And many of them have said, look, in principle, we are potentially open to assisted suicide or euthanasia. And for me, that is problematic that they're open to that. But this is the point, that even these organizations that say, in principle, we're open to it, and we think maybe there could be a good piece of legislation, dozens of those groups and people still said this bill is nowhere near fit for that purpose. It is just profoundly dangerous in so many different ways.
And so what do you think happens next? Because presumably those people who did want to rush it through are not just going to walk away quietly and never appear again, are they? I mean, they're going to probably have another go in some way, shape or form.
Yeah, they're very determined, and they have a huge amount of money. No one seems quite sure where that money comes from.
Really?
It looks like, kind of sadly and ironically, a significant chunk of it may come from the wills of deceased supporters. And so they have a financial incentive to generate more money by passing it, because then they get more money from those wills. And so there are there's plenty of sinister stuff about funding from other sources in different countries and connections to different agendas and so on, that I encourage people to look into, because they have a huge amount of money. But they don't have the momentum at the moment, and that's a good sign. So yes, they will try and pass it through. So there's another private member's ballot in a month's time. If they get one of their supporters high up in that ballot, I'm sure they will try and reintroduce it. They've basically indicated that the way they want to do that is to pass it through the Commons as quickly as possible, and then to use the Parliament Act to basically negate the House of Lords. So instead of the House of Lords applying scrutiny, which it's still doing at the moment and has plenty more clauses in the bill to investigate and to scrutinize, they're basically kind of indicating that we will use the Parliament Act, a piece of legislation that has been used, I think, 7 times in the last 125 years, never been used for a private member's bill. They will use that basically to ignore what the House of Lords says and just push it through quickly in the House of Commons and so on. Now, that will be difficult because we have a poll, I think, from just yesterday, it was the last few days, that polled members of Parliament, and fortunately, finally, they seem to be listening. So after passing it by, I think, a few dozen votes several months ago, the polling a couple of days ago showed that the majority of members of Parliament would actually oppose the bill if it were to be brought back. And so, again, this is something that we can be somewhat encouraged by, that the MPs seem to have learned their lesson, that this was totally insane to begin with. And so I think there's a good chance that if they do bring it back with another private member's bill, they will, even the Commons will reject it and it won't even get to the Lords. But we certainly have to keep watch, because they will certainly try, and they have a lot of money to just push this through, pay people off and so on. So yeah, we definitely have to keep our eyes and ears open.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's do that, because I'll be very much on your side on that one. Dr. Callum Miller, thank you very much indeed. Good to talk to you. The assisted dying bill, as I say, seems to have gone away now for the moment, but it won't go away forever, because, of course, those who are pushing for it, as he said, are very well funded and are very, very sort of keen to introduce it. And so by hook or by crook, I think they'll be trying to shoehorn it into the next Parliament if they possibly can. Right now, though, let's take a little sidestep away from that and talk to Annunziata Rees-Mogg, who joins me now. She's got plenty to say. Annunziata, very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Very well indeed. Very good to see you. I see you've been tweeting about my favourite subject, which is basically the hunt for Mr. McSweeney's phone, which nobody seems to be interested in finding anymore, strangely enough. But Morgan McSweeney seems to be the key to all of this, it seems to me. He's up before the BEAC, the Foreign Affairs Select Committee, on Tuesday. I'm hoping that at that point he will be asked some rather pertinent questions about what happened to him and his phone.
Absolutely, and there are, big questions. Will he go down the Ollie Robbins route of laying it on the line and throwing Keir Starmer under the bus, or will he stay as the Labour Party loyalist? He's got a long history in the Labour Party, going right the way back to when he was the receptionist in their headquarters and was befriended by one Peter Mandelson. And will he actually tell us what happened? Will he admit his the accusations of his own failings about swearing and trying to force through Mandelson's appointment? Will we ever really find out what happened to the mysterious phone and the man in the balaclava on a bike who stole it in a different part of London to the one that it was reported in? I have a feeling he's going to play the party line. He's going to put Labour Party and Keir Starmer and Peter Mandelson ahead of the national interest and ahead of the truth. We've also got coming up Sir Philip Barton.
Yeah.
Tuesday is going to be proper box office because he is Ollie Robbins' predecessor, and it seems like he might back up Ollie Robbins' theme of events, showing that Starmer, McSweeney, Number 10 put a lot of pressure on the Foreign Office to make sure whatever happened, Mandelson was made ambassador.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because we're led to believe, I don't know whether it's true, and maybe we'll find out on Tuesday, that Sir Philip Barton may have left the job because he didn't like the pressure and he didn't want to do the bidding of Mandelson and Starmer and McSweeney, and therefore that was why he was replaced.
Absolutely. There are certainly rumours to that effect going around. The timing certainly is very intriguing, that you've got Mandelson being announced in December, not cleared till the end of January, and the head of the Foreign Office, FCDO, changes in the middle of that period. On the 8th of January, you get a new head. And why was it then? Why did Philip go, and why did we end up with Ollie Robbins, who clearly wasn't very happy doing the bidding of Number 10 either?
No, exactly right. And that's the other weird thing. I mean, we've got in the Times today, I don't know if you've seen it, McSweeney basically speaking at this security conference in Kiev, where apparently he's touting himself around as a possible new sort of press aide to Volodymyr Zelensky to help him win the next election, whenever there is one, right? But he says that he does not recognise this characterisation of him as a bully, and of him saying to people, just effing approve it and all that. He's basically saying that he doesn't recognise that character. He says, I find it strange reading about a character with the same name as mine sometimes. So he's already kind of walking away from it, saying, I didn't do that.
I think in his defence, if it is one, a lot of bullies don't recognise that they're bullies.
Yeah.
They think they're just, getting the job done, they're doing their master's bidding, or think that that's acceptable behaviour. It might well be that he thinks what the Foreign Office sees as a great deal of pressure, it was the normal way of doing business. Remember, these people haven't been in government. They've been they've been dealing with their own internal party struggles. They've been dealing with Corbyn. It will have been a very different atmosphere. So McSweeney might have justified his incredibly bad sounding behaviour by thinking it's totally acceptable and normal. But I think the committee, the select committee, is hot on this. With Ollie Robbins, they asked 142 questions. It went on for 2 hours. It was a really forensic examination of what really went on. And I think McSweeney might be surprised how much pressure he's put under by the committee.
Yes. And do you, like me, suspect that all of this kind of rather carefully constructed passion play, if you like, from Downing Street is just that they've kind of constructed a framework within which to work, knowing that if somebody did start asking questions, they could distance themselves from, it was the office of Number 10, it wasn't Keir Starmer, it was Morgan McSweeney who had his phone stolen, therefore we don't have any record of anything, it happened because he reported it to the police. It all seems a bit too tidy, doesn't it?
it's the dog that didn't bark, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
the things that are missing that makes this even more suspicious than it is already. That there are box notes that don't seem to exist. There are security bettings that no one can see or has seen. There's McSweeney's phone, as you say. There's a redacted Keir Starmer's response to appointing Mandelson. Now, all of the things we don't know are as suspicious, if not more suspicious, than what we do know. And in fact, the civil service, there's one thing it's very good at. It's keeping minutes, keeping notes. So it really does stink that so much has just vanished. But it's a bit like Keir Starmer's desk. It's the Bermuda Triangle. Nothing ever crosses it. Nothing ever comes out the other side. It just vanishes into thin air and poof, it's gone. But I think with the humble address, we've got so much more material to come out. The ISC, the Intelligence and Security Committee of the House of Commons, is still waiting on a lot of material. The second tranche now isn't due until, conveniently enough, after the local elections. But I think we are going to find some of those missing pieces as more information comes out, which might well be after Keir Starmer has gone, because even his cabinet are finally realising, as the British public has known for a long time now, that Keir Starmer is not up to the job and can't be trusted.
No, indeed. And I mean, he can't hang around forever, can he? I mean, he's doing this relentless kind of, Starmer-esque, if I just stand here for long enough, everyone else will just walk away.
Absolutely. And he sort of got into his own stride at Prime Minister's Question Time on Wednesday.
Yeah.
And of course, that immediately meant he ad-libbed and misled Parliament. So he can't really defend himself, because that you can't defend the indefensible. But everyone can see through his transparent lies. He is a dead Prime Minister walking. That we've already heard backbench Labour MPs come out publicly against him.
Yeah.
Labour Lords as well. And his cabinet are in it for their own futures.
Yes.
They want to get their man or woman into place without risking it going to the opposite side. And Labour fundamentally is very, very divided. You've got the Shabana Mahmoods of the world, who are the sort of very Blairite right of the Labour Party, which is still pretty left-wing, but the right of Labour. And then you've got the hardcore left wing, who are already peeling off to the Greens. There was a defection this week, who want to put in a hardcore left-leaning leader, such as Andy Burnham, who they think should be back in Parliament and the next Prime Minister. He's not in Parliament. This is one of the left's big problems. So he's stitching up a deal with Rayner, who'd rather like it for herself. But I think even she recognises she isn't actually quite up to the job. I think we might find that in the end, she power plays rather than going for it herself. Wes Streeting is as embroiled in the Mandelson debacle as Starmer and the rest. And then you've got Ed Miliband, who I think would be, by a long way, be the worst result for this country. Ultimately, I think we'll get someone we haven't really thought about.
Wow. And how soon do you think that will happen then? Do you think it will be after the election?
I've been talking to a couple of ex-Labour spads who were at the beginning of this week absolutely convinced that the runners and riders would want to get their ducks all in a nice neat row. They'd have the summer to go around lobbying people. You'd get party conference in September. And that's where the big crunch would come. I think that timeline has been expedited, and some of those same people are now saying May the 8th, they'll start moving. May the 10th, 11th, we'll know more, but that there will be a contest over the rest of the summer term, which is how I now see things as a parent.
Yes. Excellent. Well, listen, Annunziata, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Got a comment here from Margaret who says, I hope you don't mind me saying, Annunziata, that you have the most beautiful eyes.
Thank you, Margaret.
And so did my producer Charlotte. Actually, said the same thing. I don't know what they're drinking, but I'm going to have some of that before I go home. But there we are. But you do have very nice eyes. I'm happy to say.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
I have
Good
very
to see you.
pale eyes.
Yeah, mine are very slitty actually, but there we are. I just don't get enough sleep. Annunziata Rees-Mogg, thank you very much indeed. Annunziata there saying she thinks that the expedited version of Keir Starmer's exit is coming up very, very shortly. We've got Kelvin McKenzie coming up very, very shortly, but I think first the news with Fiona MacLeod.
Good morning. I'm Fiona MacLeod in for Edward Hughes. Poor Eddie has an appointment with his solicitor in Swindon that he can't get out of. Prime Minister Keir Starmer remains under intense pressure over the Peter Mandelson vetting scandal, with ongoing parliamentary scrutiny and cabinet tensions after the former Labour figure's appointment as US ambassador collapsed amid security and Epstein-linked concerns. In foreign affairs, the UK is preparing to deploy RAF Typhoons to help secure the Strait of Hormuz amid the Iran conflict and US involvement, while Donald Trump has threatened tariffs on the UK over its digital services tax. Other headlines. The assisted dying bill looks set to fail in Parliament. The BBC has axed its long-running football focus programme after 52 years. Please remember to like and subscribe. See you later. Alligators.
Thank you, Fiona. Very, very well read, that news, I have to say. A couple of things to mention to you. Front pages, of course, all very much different today. Farage will wage war on benefits, according to the front page of the Daily Mail. He's got an interview in there. Migrant rapist on the run for murder, as we said before, front page of the Sun. The Telegraph, actually, we haven't covered that much, but it's the second day of the Lord Hermer story. We told you yesterday about how Lord Hermer had got himself involved in representing, when he was a younger lawyer, many of those men from Iraq who were basically lying when they made a claim against the British government because they said that there was a massacre that took place in Iraq under the guise of British troops, which of course never happened. And they brought this lawsuit against veterans and against the government as well. It completely and utterly made up, which Lord Herman was more than happy not only to take part in, but also take a very large fee from as well. So that's a fascinating story. We'll perhaps mention that to Kelvin McKenzie. Stop sharing data with China is a rather disturbing story on the front page of the Times. Apparently, ministers face calls to ban the sharing of British citizens' personal information with China after a huge breach involving the private medical data of 500,000 people. Well, surprise, surprise. Apparently, some Chinese company, which was asking volunteers to give their DNA and healthcare records to a biobank in the UK, were told yesterday that unfortunately all of their details have been put up for sale on a Chinese website. Brilliant. And of course, the Chinese website is somewhere called Alibaba, where you can go and find your own DNA. Fantastic, isn't it? It's not great. Not great news. A couple of comments for you as well before we talk to Kelvin. Can Fiona read the news without moving her hand, says Fat Thomas. Well, I mean, I'm not keen on the movement of the hands. Pooch's very protective of Fiona. Isn't there something going on with you and her, is there? He seems very protective of her. Doesn't like people criticising her. Yeah, I'm not in favour of like waving your arms around. Man from Kernow, is she married or not? I don't think she is married. No. I think she's single, isn't she? Yeah. What she did say though was that Hugh. Or Edward Hughes, rather. Fiona's better than Hugh, says some people. This is why I read that the wrong way around. The heron is eyeing Fiona up, says Brian. Oh, here we go. I don't know. Fiona, no thanks. Time to switch off, says BDF. Why are you switching off a programme, the most entertaining show on the airwaves, because you don't like the newsreader, who's on for 30 seconds? That makes no sense, right? Yeah, I mean, apparently Edward Hughes is in Swindon today, seeing a solicitor. I'm suspicious of that because I assume it has something to do with his broken marriage, because that's where I had to go to get my divorce sorted out. The poll today: how many migrants saw Shabana Mahmood stop this year? Is it 0 to 10? Is it 11 to 100? Is it 101 to 1,000? Or is it 1,001 plus? Well, of course, we know that 70,000 men, mostly men, have come into this country as migrants illegally since the Labour government got in July of 2024. Most of you, though, agree with me that she won't be stopping anyone. 0 to 10 is the winner. 90% of people have voted. Nearly 7,000 votes, which is quite a big number for us today. So well done to all of you for voting. Also, of course, don't forget tonight, I tell you what we don't have, it's plank of the week. Have we got a plank of the week? Be careful for that. Just move that up a bit because you don't want to give away the email address, do you? This is a message I got from Carol Decker earlier. Because I keep getting confused by... It's not my fault. It's Pooch who keeps telling me it's China in my hand, the song. It's China in your hand. And she's corrected me again. Look, China in your hand. That's what I say. But every time I say that, he says it's not. He's not sure that's what it is, which is unfortunate. Big interview with Nigel Farage in the Daily Mail today. Jason Groves, who's their political editor. I now believe there's one big divide in British society, and it's not class or money or race or religion. It's between those that work and those that don't. See, I think that's a really interesting thing that Nigel Farage is saying there. Popcorn ready for the Rent Boy trial starting on Monday. Yes, I believe that is the timing of it because we've also got King Charles going over to see Donald Trump, haven't we? Over in the US of A. Should we play Trump, actually? Because he was asked this morning, or yesterday, I should say, about Prince Harry, Charles's son, of course, wayward son, who I suspect he's not going to see when he's in America because I wonder whether Harry will sort of conspire not to be in the country because that's normally what he does when he doesn't want to see his dad. Well, he's in Ukraine today, or yesterday, but apparently when he was in Ukraine, he started talking about Iran and what he thought President Trump should do. So check this out.
Prince Harry today has said that he would like to see you do more to end the war in Ukraine. Do you think it's appropriate for a royal to make those comments ahead of the visit on Monday?
Prince Harry?
Yes, sir.
How's he doing? How's his wife? Please give him my regards, okay? No, I don't know. I know one thing. Prince Harry is not speaking for the UK. That's for sure. I think I'm speaking for the UK more than Prince Harry. But I appreciate his advice very much.
Would you
Great advice.
to the dinner and to the state visit?
Well, I look forward to the dinner. We're having King Charles come. He's a friend of mine. We're really looking forward to it. We've spoken, and we're going to have a great time. I tell you, if I had that ballroom built, it would be filled. I wish we had more seats. You know, they've wanted a new ballroom for 150 years. Now they're getting the best in the world. We're going to have the best in the world. But, you know, we have a room that's not big enough to handle what would be a big crowd. But we're going to have very great people that love the UK. I love the UK. I think they made a big mistake on energy. You should open up the North Sea in Aberdeen. You should open it up. And the other thing is they've made a big mistake on immigration. Okay.
Sir, I mean, he's not wrong, is he? The great thing about Trump is he just shoots from the hip. He immediately picks up on the... You can see his ears pricking up, can't you, when he hears the words Prince Harry. And he just goes, how is he? You know, and you know what he means by that. He doesn't mean, how is he? He means, what an absolutely arrogant little prick he is. What was that last message? Harry is a delusional idiot. Yeah, I agree with that. Phil has sent me a message on Twitter. You can send me a message on X, of course, or Facebook, as well as on the YouTube channel. I won't be popular, he says, but I don't like Fiona. She's too close to McCoist in Brazil, who I won't listen to. Well, just because she's Scottish. I mean, they don't all sound the same. I mean, Lewis MacLeod's Scottish. He doesn't sound like Brazil or McCoist. And I don't think Fiona does either. I think you did, because they're both Glaswegians.
It's Donald's niece as well.
And also, it's Donald's niece, so we don't really have any choice in the matter, right? So we just have to keep employing her until such time as he tells us that she's no longer persona non grata, right? So we were just talking to Annunziata Rees-Mogg, who seems to think that May the 8th is going to be the date at which we see the end of Keir Starmer's reign. We see the end of Keir Starmer. We see the end of his prime ministership. Those who thought it might last through the summer are now recounting their fingers and thinking, no, it's not going to happen. Let's see if Kelvin's changed his mind. He said the other day he wants him to hang around, obviously, because that will be good for the country and good for Labour to be completely and utterly ruined before the end of the year. Kelvin, very good morning to you, sir.
Morning.
Morning. You haven't changed your mind yet? Has anything changed since we last saw you as far as Starmer's longevity is concerned?
No, I accept probably what we viewers think as well, and probably what the vast majority of the country will decide on May the 7th, that he is an absolutely hopeless leader. And on that basis, I want him to stay as leader of the Labour Party for as long as possible, because the reality is that whoever comes in with the Labour view is going to be a disaster. So why not keep a disaster which loses votes, just in case a disaster comes along who can gain votes?
I mean, I don't see any way that what happens next week will not be even worse. And Morgan McSweeney is going to be questioned by the Foreign Affairs Select Committee, as indeed is the other guy who was the predecessor of Ollie Robbins, Sir Philip Barton.
Yeah.
Surely one of them is going to say something which is going to finish Starmer off, isn't it?
So it won't be with McSweeney. It will almost certainly be Barton, I'm afraid. So Barton will have a really quite serious anecdote or view of Starmer, and that will see Starmer off. I mean, isn't it strange that the only guy that hasn't actually been fired in all this is Starmer himself?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody else who's come into any contact with Starmer appears now to be pushing a broom outside Aldi's, and he himself is still saying, "I'm the man to run the country." So my view of him is that he is the luckiest of lucky generals. He happened to be sitting there when 14 years of disastrous Tory rule came to an end. Now, anybody could have been sitting there. Honestly, the Downing Street cat could have been sitting there. Anybody could have been sitting there, and they would have won a very, very comfortable majority. It happened to be Starmer. It's difficult to know what he was. He's not a technocrat.
No.
So he's not an administrator. He's not a civil servant type. He is not political in any way. He hasn't got any natural touchstones or feelings of ordinary people. And yet, unbelievably, he ends up as Prime Minister. And I suppose the question that I have to ask myself about this, what is the pool like for politicians in this country on a general basis? Who on earth, if you're clever, right, if you're a conservative or I suspect it, then you aren't going to earn more money by going into politics.
Yeah.
So the only people that are likely to be ambitious to go into politics are those people who come from the left, because they come from, for instance, they were either councillors making probably 4,000 or 5,000 a year, plus their jobs, or they were trade union people probably making 40s or 50s, right? So 98,000 a year is actually good money, and that somebody is listening to them, because previously nobody listens to you.
Yeah.
You know, the idea that you're a councillor and you go to a local party or something, and is anybody actually interested in what they say? Round my way, the interesting thing that's going to happen round my way is that the local leader of the Conservatives for Elmbridge Council, a guy called Cope, who I know, he will definitely lose to Reform.
Yeah.
And so the Conservative Party, as a grip on local government round my way, has been becoming less and more less. And the other aspect,
we're just having a bit of a sticky time with your
that the MP.
With your
Are you?
signal.
Well, I tell you what. Why don't I try taking it in the other room?
Well, you could try that.
If I take it
Yeah,
somewhere
give us
else.
a tour of
Is that better?
of Shay Mackenzie.
Shall I?
You could, you could give us a tour of the house.
What, Mackenzie Mansion?
Mackenzie Mansions, yeah,
Right,
because
well,
it's
here we
better
are.
than it's easier than putting it on. It's easier to put it on the website to sell it. To be honest, you know.
Buy it, right?
Well, hold on one second.
Yeah.
So, if anybody wants to buy it, and they have, if they have a large amount of money, they can buy it. Right?
Can you not? I mean, you
I've
can not
lived here for
find
20
somebody from the Chinese embassy who might want to move in there, because obviously the new. I mean,
No,
people
you
seem
know
to.
why?
People seem to have forgotten that one of the things Starmer's done is grant permission for the Chinese to build this giant embassy in the middle of bloody Tower Hamlets. I know, this is great.
Wait, they wouldn't. How does that one work?
That's good. Yeah,
Does
that's
that
better.
work
Yeah,
better?
that's better. Definitely
Well,
better.
the reason the Chinese wouldn't buy here is because the online is not good enough for them.
Oh, that's
because
true.
They've got
absolutely.
spying to be done.
Yeah,
Well, how much have you been climbing? Because I haven't been watching the show. So how much have you been climbing into Lord Heaver? Or how
Lord
we pronounce
Hermer. Well, we did quite a lot yesterday because I've seen, and Lindsay, we just spoke to Lindsay Arthur Rees-Mogg actually, who was saying that you know, the fact that nothing has been done about this at all, that Starmer's read that story in the Telegraph yesterday and hasn't fired him, how on earth has he not fired him? Because, I mean, the one quote alone, which for me absolutely does for him, is where he goes, oh, we might need a bit of wiggle room in case none of this actually ever happened. As a lawyer, he's saying that, right?
Yeah, well, there were two other aspects which took my eye. One of them was the suggestion from him that he would go on an ability to make 100% of his fee in the event that there was any form of that everybody was found guilty in this. And the other, so you know, God knows how much he was making. It's no wonder he and Starmer are close buddies. And I think the other aspect of it all was that on reading the report from this is a solicitors who advertise on television, by the way. On reading the report, the initial report on whether they felt that there was a crime committed at all. Hermer, or however you pronounce his name, said, "This is the reason that I have become a lawyer." I.e., he was fully fired up for pursuing these magnificently innocent soldiers. And, you know, the truth about the matter is that he has, and the other aspect, the third aspect that came out about this, is that, you know what, the suggestion with lawyers is that that they have to take cases, right? It's a cab rank principle.
Yeah, they have no choice,
That is complete cobblers.
Of course
and
it
in
is.
this case, particularly, he crossed the road to take the case.
Yeah.
Now, why do they do it? Do they believe that an injustice has been performed? Or do they actually believe what everybody else would do in life is they are pursuing cases where they know there is the maximum amount of money to be made and possibly the maximum amount of personal publicity to attract more and similar cases?
Yeah.
I look, he needs to come out and say why it is that he stayed with this case. What was for it? It was about 6 to 7 years, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So he had a choice at any time to say, do you know what? I've looked at this and I think it looks like a load of cobblers. Instead of that, they had to rely on a judge and an investigation to actually say the whole thing was wholly and completely untrue from start to finish. And you, Mr. Shiner, are going to be done for fraud, right? A shocking piece of work, that guy.
Well,
so
because
why,
he's also. Let me just point this out as well in today's piece. He's also claiming off the Ministry of Defence for his own cost, £450 an hour. They objected to that on the grounds that he was a junior lawyer, and in fact, in his first year, shouldn't be charging anything like that. So he's on the make as well.
Yes, and one of the interesting things about lawyers is this ability to say that something you're being paid by the hour.
Yeah.
Well, since most of the work is actually being done sitting there opposite a computer, right? How can you and I, as the people that are going to pay their money? Okay, let's just say this was a private thing instead of a public thing, right? How can you tell whether how many hours were put in, or more importantly, how many minutes were put in?
Yeah.
Right. I've often thought it must open itself up to fraud. And
Totally.
if you ever talk to somebody who is retired as a lawyer, and you put that to them, you know, in a friendly kind of over a beer thing, they'll all tell you it's a complete load of old hogwash.
Yeah.
So if there's any lawyers watching, perhaps they'd like to come in and defend themselves, because what they won't do is they will not come forward to face investigation on their charging techniques.
No. I mean, I did have that conversation with my lawyers when I was unfortunately forced to retain some of them back end of last year. And I said, look, here's the deal. I said, I charge quite a lot of money per hour for my services as well. So technically speaking, if you're going to talk to me on the phone, I should be able to charge you my hourly rate, while you then charge me your hourly rate, and let's see who ends up with the most money. They didn't go for that, unfortunately, and I ended up with a whacking great bill. To which somebody once said to me, he said, "What did you get for that exactly?" I said, "Well, I got a lot of advice. I mean, you can't really quantify it, can you? You just go, well, I spent a bucket load of money over there, and I still got fired. Never mind."
Yes, no, you would have been much brighter just to have said, "Yeah, that's it. Thanks very much indeed. I'm leaving."
I should have done that. Yeah,
and probably saved yourself what, 10 grand?
I wish.
Oh right, all right. Saved yourself 20 grand. Anyway,
Yeah, I'm afraid. Yeah. So that was not my finest hour.
So we're coming up now. Where are we? We're 2 weeks away now from May the 7th.
Yeah.
I have never known an atmosphere, even under the Conservatives, more hostile to the government, to a government, than now. And I see that when you look at some of the analysis of it, the Starmer government going into this election is by a country mile the least popular with the voters.
Yeah.
So all right, we're having this chat, we'll say, on May the 8th. What would your bet be? Is it that Starmer has to go, or is going to go, or that everybody just shrugs their shoulder and says, well, it's not long before the House breaks up, we'll reconvene at the party conference and see what happens then?
Yeah, well, that's an interesting point, because that's what Lindsay Arthur Rees-Mogg was saying, that she'd been speaking to a couple of former Labour spads who had said back end of last week, they were on the kind of, it'll probably all happen over the summer. There'll be a bit of moving and shaking. There'll be some action at the conference. They'll replace him then. But they now think, because of events of this week, that he won't last beyond May the 8th, basically, because it will be such a disaster. And also more stuff will come out next week. There's more Mandelson stuff to come out in the coming week or two. And I think he's gone by the weekend of May the 8th, because also if it's such a cataclysmic victory for reform, he's got nothing that he can hang his hat on, really, has he? I mean, he'll try and hang around, because he obviously is trying to do that thing now where he just sits there and refuses to budge. But I think there's bound to be pressure coming from inside the party to say, look, mate, it's all over. Everybody knows it's over. It's just a matter of when he's going to walk away.
Yes. So, okay, we agree on that, basically. I mean, I want him to stay, but I recognise that he probably won't. So so who then takes his place? You see, are Labour so short of potential leaders that they will go for a retread like Ed Miliband?
I think they might have to. I think they might have to.
That, can I tell you, for your viewers, will be a very painful day.
Yeah.
Forget about net zero then being, untouchable for the next 3 years. There will be other aspects of the left there. After all, if you look at his parentage, that came straight down a Marxist route.
Yeah.
He was much further left than his brother David Miliband. He has no natural touchstones with populist thought processes.
No.
I would say that everybody would then be begging, literally within months, for Starmer to return. I don't really mean that, but what I mean is that there will be no centrist aspect to a Labour administration. So Mahmood would almost certainly have to go, which would, to my mind, would be a shame. All right, she can't achieve anything, but at least she's actually attacking the wind. The wind's blowing towards her, i.e. number 10 and, the whole of the left and everything, and she's prepared to say things, right?
Yeah.
She's prepared to say things.
Well, maybe she would stand. Maybe she would fancy it.
What, taking a run herself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But would they? Right. So she's a member of Blue Labour.
Yeah.
Okay. So can Blue Labour really get elected? Can a Blue Labour candidate really get elected with the kind of febrile left atmosphere the Labour Party right now. I find that hard to believe, to be honest.
I mean, it's honestly the lap of the gods, really, because they're all. I mean, not one of them would you put your confidence in. I wouldn't, wouldn't loan any of them a tenner. I don't think any of them are worth a fag end, to be honest. And I still cling on to this belief that there will be some kind of cataclysmic economic disaster, which will mean they have to go to the country and they have to go for an election. And I know you can't see that, and I don't even know why I think it will happen. I just have this thought process that the economy is teetering on the brink,
Oh right. Now look, okay, something something dramatic could come out of Iran. I accept that. I don't really buy that. I take it that the country actually, if you saw some of the if you look into the economic weeds, there are signs of things kind of happening. I saw a piece this morning saying that job ads were on the up for the first time in a long time. I hold on a second, somebody's at the door. It must be another fan. Hold on one second.
Come in the Home Office. Go and see who it is. Is that a dog barking in the background as well?
They like to drop by to hear these words of wisdom. No, but there are. So the economy, slightly up in March, up 0.5%. But now once we start seeing inflation on the move, then you'll see wages on the move. And the only good piece of news is this is probably of little interest to your viewers outside London, but the tube strike has been a complete disaster.
Yeah.
So this is the first time that I can remember when the RMT said our tubes will not run, our trains will not run, when actually more trains ran than ever before, and you could get round London for the first time. So that was a good sign that in fact on this particular issue they had no strength. So that was a good sign. So look, I want this country, even under Labour, I want this country to prosper. I do not want us to become kind of I don't know, some kind of North Korea, run by bloody mad people trying to make us all poorer. We've got house prices on, by and large, not doing all that well, especially, in London, the southeast. These are not good times under Labour, and we're not going to get rid of them. So that's why I'm fearful of what follows Starmer. Right, it's too easy to say let him go. The guy's clearly incompetent, but is there competency within Labour? Is there somebody you could turn around to and say, "We'll give that lady, that bloke a go"?
Yeah, no, I'm afraid there isn't, unfortunately. But listen, next week brings another series of exciting stories, I'm sure. Have a great weekend, Kelvin. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Kelvin
Cheers,
McKenzie there, former editor of The Sun, telling us he's more optimistic, certainly, than I am about the future, whether it's under Starmer or not. I don't know. I think one of the things that's going to be a real defining kind of issue over the course of the next several years is the piece that Nigel Farage has written and the interview that he's given to Daily Mail, where he basically says, I now believe there's one big divide in British society, and it's not class or money or race or religion. It's between those that work and those that don't. And I think that is going to prove to be a very prescient statement as more and more people get on welfare and fewer people actually pay tax to pay for it. There we are. Let's talk now to Christian Drogan from Watchmen. Sorry, what we got? Oh, yeah, let's play the clip. Christian sent us a clip. He's been over in, I think, Belgium again. Check it out.
I'm in a military cemetery in Belgium. Mostly Christian, British young men lie here in this cemetery. Age 20. I mean, wow. So sad. So sad. Length. That's close to home. Just 50 metres through the woodland from this graveyard is a military airbase, now partly used to house asylum seekers. A soldier of this guy, God rest his soul, this guy's, he's lost his life. No one knows what his name was. This is asylum seeker accommodation in Belgium. I'm about to take you on a tour through this site. And as you'll see, the conditions here are vastly different from those in Britain. Hello? Okay?
That all looks rather nice. Christian, good morning to you, sir.
How are we doing? You okay?
Yeah, not bad at all. So you've been over in Belgium. I know you've been doing quite a few different bits and pieces there. That looks like quite a nice little spot to live for the old asylum seekers.
It was so it's part of a military base that wasn't being used. It is going to be turned back into the military base because they're upscaling the size back to full use. Now, the interesting thing about it was, okay, yeah, it might look all right from the outside, but actually, when I went inside and I was shown around by the asylum seekers, and it was pretty horrific, to be honest.
Was it?
It smelled bad. They were packed in like sardines, and some of them have been there up to 3 years with no decision on their asylum claim. Now, the other interesting aspect of this is that, so some of them were saying, yeah, I've had my asylum claim denied. I'm probably going to go try and go to the UK.
Right.
Because we think there's good job, good work out there, good money. So if they get, it seems to me, and this is only from my experience on the ground, it seems to me that if they get denied in Europe their asylum claim, which they call negative, positive, if they get a negative, their next option then is to come to the UK. Now, the lads that I met in that asylum seeker centre were actually really nice lads. And it seems to me, my observations lead me to believe that the people who are going through the proper channels over there, they're fairly decent people. Everyone I spoke to in that asylum seeker centre was, they were friendly and they were happy to speak to me. It was none of that cover the face things like what they do over here, turn their back to you. Or like we found out when we walked through the Dunkirk jungle the other day, actually, attacking you. So what I'm trying to say is the people in the camps and on the streets of Calais, because once on my way home, I got attacked, nearly attacked a second time. I got hurled a load of abuse by about 200 African migrants on the streets of Calais who were being fed out the back of vans by NGOs. So it seems that the people who are trying to get to the UK by small boat, whether it's to do with their experiences or whatever, I don't know, but they definitely don't seem as nice as the people who have met who are going through the proper channels in Europe.
Right. But of course, as you say, the ones who don't get asylum in Belgium will probably inevitably come here anyway. I mean, they've got this.
Yeah.
I mean, this ludicrous idea where Shabana Mahmood opened a detention centre yesterday for 100 seekers. I mean, that's literally one boatload, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is as well. What we give them compared to what Belgium gives them is mind blowing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's £49 a week we give them, and then obviously everything else, which everyone's already fully aware of. But they get €9 a week. That's it.
Yeah. Right.
And obviously 3 meals a day, but the meals, to be honest, I'm not sure I could eat the food that we're putting out. It wasn't clever. But we've got a full film that's going to premiere on our YouTube channel tonight of that clip that I've just shown you. So if anybody wants to tune in and see that, they can find it at Watch Me War YouTube.
Good, excellent. Well, you've been very busy lately, haven't you? You've been getting a lot of recognition as well, which is a good thing. So you must be quite pleased, despite the danger you put yourself in. That at least you're seeing some results from it.
Yeah, for me, I kind of enjoy those situations. To be honest, it's it gets the adrenaline pumping,
gets the blood pumping, doesn't it?
Yeah, I did go. I mean, I saw last week when I was in Belgium, because I was in Dunkirk and Belgium, just monitoring the activity for a full week.
Yeah.
Myself and Isabel, we work well as a team together, and as a result of that, we managed to see all 6 boats that left from Belgium last week.
Right.
So, we saw them all leaving from the beach.
Mm.
And this whole myth of them being taxi boats down to France it's not true, because they were jam-packed. They were on
Right.
their way to Britain from Belgium.
They were just
So,
going straight to Britain. Yeah, they weren't ferrying them down anywhere.
yeah.
They were just going. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, well, sorry, tell a lie. They were going to the French waters first and
Mm.
get escorted from the French waters to the English waters.
Yeah. Right. So they get the escort from the French Coast Guard, effectively.
As well, once they've been escorted by the Belgian
Yeah.
authorities, then the French take over.
Right.
However, I do have to say, the Belgian authorities are much more pleasant than the French. You can have a conversation with them.
Yeah.
You can almost tell they're a little bit gutted that they're under-resourced, and they do want to sort the problem out, I believe. Whereas I can't say that the French gendarmes give that feeling off.
No, indeed. Well, listen, Christian, good luck with it. We'll see you again, I'm sure, soon. Christian Drogan there, want to watch that show. It's on, well, somebody's already said they've watched it already, so is it on the website
We've
yet?
put a teaser clip. No, we've put a teaser clip out. The full video will be out on tonight at 6 p.m. on our
Okay, cool.
YouTube channel.
You can watch it just before you watch Plank of the Week then. Great stuff. Good.
Happy days.
Christian, very good. Thank you very much indeed. Christian Drogan there from Watchmen Raw. Go to their website where you can see at 6 o'clock tonight his little investigation documentary into the whole situation there in Belgium, which appears to be now becoming similar to France. But isn't it ridiculous that you get these characters who go to Belgium, they sometimes can be there for as many as 3 years seeking asylum, and if it doesn't work out for them, they just hop on a boat and come to Britain and presumably stay here for the rest of time because nobody gets kicked out here. That's the weird thing. Time now for our final guest of the day, final guest of the week, actually, on this show, the Mike Graham Show, very nearly 9:45, coming up. And it is, of course, our favourite bishop. It is Bishop Kai Dewar. Bishop, very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, sir. How are you? You're looking very well today.
Well, I've had a great week, actually. We've just gone through 17 million views on the channel,
that's fantastic.
Buoyed
Congratulations.
us considerably. Now, I've got to remember before we start to talk to you about your GoFundMe page, because I think, Pooch, you might have you got a copy of that we can show? You're hoping to raise some money.
Yes.
To help the bishop get back on the road. And the reason why is you had somebody vandalise your car, is that right?
So last year I was speaking in Swansea, and when I was leaving, the back of the car began to make an awful noise.
Right.
When I finally got to about 6 miles from home, the rear tyre was at about a 45-degree angle to the car, the entire wheel. And when the police attended the scene and the recovery truck arrived, it was discovered that 7 of the 20 wheel nuts had been removed from my vehicle, which had happened whilst I was speaking at the event. So we had an attempted murder investigation and other stuff that took place. So we've tried to bodge through the last 12 months, but in January, I had to take the car in for repairs, and it was discovered that the damage to the rear wheel hub was more than I thought, and now we've just tried to get it repaired again, and there's even more damage than was first aware. So because of that, and because of the current security threats concerning my life to do with Islamic fundamentals and loonies on the left that try to take wheel nuts off my car, I've been advised to get a secondary mode of transport. So what we aim to do is raise the money to fix the car and get it back on the road. And for anybody that's watching, I don't drive some luxurious, big S-Class or something like that. I live a very normal life. I live in a regular 3-bedroom bungalow, and I drive an 11-year-old SsangYong. It's taken us many, many weeks to get the parts because they were sat on a ship on the other side of the Hormuz Straits for about a month and a half.
Of course.
I was tracking the delivery dot, and it was just a red dot in the middle of the ocean for weeks. And then we're going to buy a motorbike just for the kind of general stuff that I do where I'm on my own, purely to keep the cost down.
Yes.
I try to.
But I mean, who on earth would want to do you harm? I mean, that sounds extraordinary. I mean, you're a man of the cloth. You're a man who speaks a great deal of common sense. You're not some kind of firebrand calling for the abolition of anything, or the destruction of anything, or the the outing of anything? I mean, your message is always, I would have said anyway, very positive, very inclusive, for the proper use of that word, as opposed to improper use of that word.
Yeah, very much so. Unfortunately, according to the leftists and the liberals, I am the what is it they've called me? I'm the racist, bigoted, homophobic, transphobic, Islamophobic, far right bishop. None of which is true, of course.
God.
They should realize, as much as I jest, just to tease them, I often use the line, all of the slogans they give me are wrong because I just hate everybody equally. It solves all the problems. And they've used that against me because they can't even see that I'm cracking a joke. But
Right.
yeah, we've had some interesting challenges, particularly because of some of the platforms I've stood on and spoken at. But the message of Christ that we bring is for everybody. So and I was asked a couple of weeks ago in a debate, well, you only speak on quote unquote far right platforms. Why don't you speak on the left? I said, because none of them have ever asked me.
Yeah, right.
I'll happily speak to anybody. If the Satanist Church invited me to do Sunday service, I'll quite happily go. My message isn't changing. The audience might, but what I'm going to say isn't going to change. So we're just trying to get back on the. We've been, by God's grace, we've been successful so far. We're about 3,000 into the 8,000 that we need to raise.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm not asking to replace it with some super ridiculous thing. I'm trying to find the best way to cut the costs down because I travel on average about 46 to 50 weeks of the year.
Yeah, man.
Doing what I do. In fact, I was there in London yesterday.
Oh, were you?
255 miles up to London from home, and at the end of the day, drove back to be here so that I could have the morning with your good self.
Top man, very good. Well, next time, give us a heads up. We'll get you in the studio as well.
I think I'm coming up on the 15th of May to be with you anyway. So
top man. We'll give you a free cup of coffee. Won't even charge you for it. How about that?
Fantastic.
But I mean, it really is a terrible indictment of our society, isn't it? That a guy like yourself, who is of no danger to anyone at all, who gets branded as a right winger, which is ludicrous in itself, because I don't see you in any way, shape, or form as a right winger. But obviously, being from the far right, I have no judgment. But these people are insane, aren't
far
they?
right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should get a T-shirt that says we're all far right now. It's incredibly, disheartening in a way, because you're about healing things. You're about making division disappear. You're about, preaching to people a gospel of goodwill. I've never heard you say anything that would be in any way contentious.
Well, because I speak into the political arena, that upsets people in the establishment. Last year I had a hit piece done on me by Sky News. The BBC went after me. Times, Telegraph, The Guardian. I've made the front page of the Church Times first ever, and I was hoping it would have been for some great achievement I'd accomplished, but it was an attack on me for daring to call out the hypocrisy of the Church of England. And now, as a result of that, because I've spoken on things like immigration from a very balanced church perspective, that the church cannot advocate for an open borders policy like the Church of England does. We have a responsibility to our own people first and foremost.
Yeah.
And then we're ethically and morally responsible and fiscally possible. We should take care of strangers, orphans, and widows in accordance with Scripture, but not at the expense of our own people, which, in my opinion, is very much what's happening at the moment, where illegal immigration is prioritized over homeless veterans, and I've said it many times. 3 in 5 children in Wales are living below the poverty line. 2 in 5 not even got proper footwear or clothing to go to school and are not getting fed outside of the school. We're not tackling these issues whilst we're spending, hundreds of billions every year on a never-ending flow of illegal, undocumented people into the country, which convenes all 4 of the immigration laws enacted in this country since the early 70s. And we've had consecutive governments that in terms of immigration, are ignoring the very laws they voted into place. And that's just one area that we're not dealing with things. It's horrendous that we're prioritizing other people and other nations over the citizens and the people of the United Kingdom. And because I've said things like that, because I've spoken on the fact that this government and the previous government, because I don't just limit it at Labour, it's governments in general, have broken their contract with the British people, that we as a people should remove our consent to be governed by such governments. We pay our taxes, we honor the part of the contract between the government and the people. And this government and the previous Conservative government have prioritized other people in other nations over the welfare of this state. Look, you know as well as I do, this year the income tax bill is less than our welfare bill, but the biggest chunk of welfare spending is on illegal immigration. This should never happen, and any government that allows that to continue and does nothing about it is prioritizing other people, other nations over our own citizens and breaking that contract between government and people. So just on that basis, this government, and we've seen the previous government removed because of an election, but now this government should be removed because of the fact they're going even further than the previous government. And because of that, now I'm on fatwa lists from Islamists because I've spoken on illegal immigration and I've spoken on the dangers of Islam. And this is a strange place for me, Mike, because for the first time this year, I've had to have security in church when I've gone to preach. It's getting ridiculous.
I know. It's absolutely ridiculous.
Just for daring to speak the truth. So because of that, I'm just trying to get back on the road. What I do in the diocese requires me to be on the road as often as possible. And I'm not like other priests or other bishops. I'm not trying to get people to church. I'm on a very different mission. I'm trying to get to the church, to the people right across the country. That's why we do mass public baptisms. That's why I'm trying to do as many in-person services as I can, but also bearing in mind the concerns for safety with me, which is why we do an online service on Sunday as well, so that we get the church to the people.
Yeah, brilliant thing you're doing. A lot of people are joining in on the GoFundMe, by the way, at the moment, I think. So so we're making some progress there, but a lot of people saying they're going to be supporting you as well. So let's go straight to it because we're nearly out of time. Your sermons are very popular with our flock. I hope you don't mind me calling them that. The MG clan, as somebody just mentioned there. So give us your message for the week, if you would, please.
Thank you very much, sir. There are moments, my brothers and sisters, in the life of a nation, and I like to start every sermon that way. But there are also moments in the life of a soul when the noise grows so loud that we forget how to recognize the voice that matters. We are surrounded by voices, political voices, media voices, cultural voices. Some shout, some seduce, some threaten. Many promise life, but deliver only confusion. And into that noise, the gospel today speaks with clarity that cuts through like a light through fog. Christ says in the gospel, "My sheep hear my voice, and another they will not follow." He does not say they hear many voices. He does not say they negotiate with competing shepherds. He does not say they drift towards the loudest crowds. He says they hear his voice. That, my brothers and sisters, that is the dividing line of our age. In the Gospel of St. John, chapter 10, our Lord gives us one of the most profound images in all of Scripture. He is not merely a teacher, not merely a guide. He is a shepherd. Now, to modern ears, that can sound quite quaint, conjures up images of farmers in the Cotswolds. It's soft, it's pastoral, in what I would say is the weakest sense. But in the ancient world, a shepherd was a man of steel. He lived with the flock. He slept at the sheep gate. He fought off the wolves with his bare hands. He knew each one of the sheep, and they knew him. The sheepfold, the gate in the city, had one entrance, one singular gate. And Christ says something astonishing. I am the door. Not a door, not one option amongst many, not one path in the marketplace of spiritual consumerism. I am the door. And then he adds this, all who came before me are thieves and robbers. This is not polite religion. It is not vague spirituality. This is a claim of absolute authority. There are voices that lead to life, and there are voices that steal it. We do not lack in the church for shepherds today. We seem to be drowning in them. But there are those who prioritize and promise identity without truth, those who promise freedom without responsibility, those who promise salvation without repentance. They speak the language of compassion, but they strip man of dignity. They speak the language of progress, but they hollow out the soul. They speak the language of unity, but they demand conformity to falsehood. And Scripture is not silent about such shepherds. It says they are thieves, they are robbers, they climb in another way. They do not enter by Christ because they cannot. For to enter by Christ is to bow to him, to submit to him, to proclaim that he alone is Lord. And that is one thing that this age will never tolerate. So we turn to the Acts of the Apostles in chapter 2. Here we see the church as she was meant to be. They devoted themselves to the apostles, teaching and fellowship, to the breaking of bread and the prayers. They were devoted, not casual, not occasional, not convenient, devoted to truth, devoted to one another, devoted to worship. And what flows from this? A people marked by generosity, a people marked by joy, a people marked by favor with all. My brothers, my sisters, that is not a political program. It is not engineered by policy or manufactured by ideology. It is the fruit of a people who hear the shepherd's voice and follow him together. And note this carefully. The church does not grow by compromise, but by clarity. The Lord added to their number daily in the Acts of the Apostles. Why? Because truth has a distinctive sound, and those who are hungry will always recognize it. We come to the first epistle of St. Peter, chapter 2, and here the tone deepens further. For to this you have been called, he says, because Christ also suffered for you, leaving you an example. Now that is where many turn away. They will have Christ as an inspiration. They will have him as a moral teacher. They will even have him as a cultural symbol. But they will not have him as the crucified Lord. Yet here it is the shepherd who is revealed most clearly. He committed no sin, neither was deceit found in his mouth. When he suffered, he did not threaten. And then we read these words, by his wounds you have been healed. The shepherd does not stand at a distance. He enters into the violence of the world and he bears it all. Therefore, those who follow him must understand this. The Christian life is not an escape from suffering. It is a calling through it. To endure without hatred, to stand without compromise, to speak truth without fear. This, my brothers and sisters, this is not weakness. It is the strength of Christ himself that is formed in his people. And finally, we come to the great Psalm, Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Now notice the certainty of what he says. Not I hope, not I feel, not I imagine. I shall not want. Why? Because the shepherd always provides. He leads beside still waters. He restores the soul, but also this. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Not because the valley is unreal, not because danger is imagined, but because, as we read, for thou, O Lord, art with me. This is the heart of the Christian claim. Not that life will be easy, not that evil will vanish overnight, but that Christ is present, and that presence is enough. So, what does that mean for us here and now? We, you, my brothers and sisters, me, we are all a people standing at a crossroads. We can follow the voices that flatter and divide, or we can return to the voice of the shepherd. We can build a society on shifting sand, or we can anchor it in the truth that does not move. The crisis we face is not merely political. It is spiritual. It is a crisis of voice. Who will we listen for? Because we will become whatever we follow. Christ does not shout above the noise. He calls softly, and his call is simple. Enter by the door. Hear his voice. Follow him. For he says to us this, I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. Not a diminished life, not a managed existence, abundant life, true life, eternal life. And that is only found in one place. It is found in the shepherd when we simply pray, Lord, I give you my life. Amen.
Amen, indeed. Superb, as ever. Bishop, I've got some great news for you. There's a few £100 coming your way into the GoFundMe from our loyal listeners, and also Will Geddes, who is my personal friend and security specialist, is also offering to help out if you need any help with security. He's already donated to your page, but if you need any advice or you need any kind of cover for anything that you're doing, do get in touch with Charlotte, and she will pass you on his number because he's very happy to help.
Thank you, Mike, and to everybody. I am truly, truly thankful, and you have no idea how much it touches me. So forgive me if I get a bit choked up, but
okay.
Thank you for being such a blessing, and thank you for having me on every week. It really is a blessing to be with you.
It's a wonderful thing, and I love it, and everybody does as well. So it's really, really super. So have a lovely weekend. Stay safe.
You, my brother. I'll see you next week.
We'll see you soon. Thank you so much, Bishop Kai Dewar. Wow, what a guy. And what a message. Fantastic. 22 donations since the segment started. Thank you to all of you. Thank you to Will Geddes there as well. Thank you to the Bishop. Thank you to all the guests we had today. All fantastic. Lewis MacLeod, I mean, made us laugh. Absolutely. Absolutely going. Christian Drogan, who was here, Lindsay Arthur Rees-Mogg, Dr. Callum Miller. I'm sure we'll have more to say with him on the subject of assisted dying. Kate Hardcastle, we couldn't get through to in the end. Ralph Schulhammer, he'll be back. Rafe Heidelman-Koo, course, as well. Kelvin McKenzie, who popped in, thanks to Pooch. Another amazing week. 17 million views, ladies and gentlemen. 156,000 subscribers on the new Mike Graham Show. Still, of course, the best and the biggest YouTube breakfast show in the United Kingdom. Thank you for all of you for making it that. It's already 5 past. I think it's the longest show we've done, 6 minutes past 10. Mike and Pooch, can we introduce the national anthem at the beginning and the end of the week? I don't see why not. Although I'm not sure whether we'd be up and at 'em for the, because there's funny things that happen when you play music on YouTube. I'm not quite sure how. We'll do some research into that. Maybe if I sing it, it'll be all right. I don't know. But listen, don't forget, if you haven't got them yet, get yourself some tickets for the live show. May the 6th is going to be amazing. It's going to be a great night. Loads and loads of your favourite people are going to be there. Obviously, I'm going to be there. Lewis MacLeod is going to be there. Just for him alone, it's worth coming. And of course, we will be Intel ladies coming as well. Carol Decker, China in your hands. She's messaged me again. The two, Right Said Fred, the two brothers, of course, and Will Geddes will be there as well, in charge of security. Stephen Barrett is going to be there. Russell Quirk is also going to be there. Hugh Andre is going to be there. I'm not sure about Emma, because she's not sure if she can make it, but she's going to hopefully be there. Marilyn Hawes, we're going to keep her off the sores.
She's going to be wearing a tiara, apparently.
Oh, really? All right. Okay, a long dress and a tiara, marvellous. She could be the queen. She could be the queen of the Shepherd's Bush Empire, probably. As always, brilliant show. Have a great weekend all, says Sorja, isn't it? Sorja? I don't know why I can say that. Will the live show be recorded? I can't make it in London. Rab, yeah, we are going to plan to record it. I'm not quite sure how that's going to work, and we're not going to live stream it, though. We are going to be recording it probably and putting it out some way, shape or form. Have a fantastic weekend. Don't forget, Plank of the Week tonight at 7 p.m. In the company of Linda Dewberry, was it? It was Linda Dewberry, wasn't it? It was also, who else was on it? Lee Harris.
And Rebecca Butler.
And Rebecca Butler, yeah. It's amazing how quickly you forget. And then Plonk of the Week, Linda Dewberry stayed around for Plonk of the Week, and she's got some great stories to tell. International journalist of some renown. She tells us a lot of really interesting tales of her career running around, working with Trevor McDonald and all sorts of other stuff. So look out for all of that at the weekend. Also, don't forget the weekend wind-up will be coming your way on Sunday. I'll see whatever. It's bloody marathon weekend, so it might well be that I do a marathon wind-up. Because I won't be able to come back into London until after 4 o'clock because all the bloody roads are going to be shut. Anyway, have a lovely weekend and thanks for watching. We'll see you on Monday, sharp, 7 a.m.
Why don't you relax and be a bit more MG? That would be a triumph.